yeah, I wanted to use all of that as a springboard for me. I wanted to use it all as an example of what I didn't want. I looked at kind of, who do I want to be in relation to this? Who do I want to be in relation to the life I'd had up until this point? You know, I wanted to be the best dad, the best husband. I'd come from a council estate. I wanted more money. I wanted success. And I managed to get myself to uni. I was working at Greg's at the weekends and McDonald's in the evenings. Clearly I liked food, to fund my studies, because I bought into the illusion that if I was qualified enough, if I went to uni and did that, and I think I was the first one in my family to go to uni, that was like, oh my God, I'd achieved everything just getting there. Then I'd be successful. And obviously if anyone's gone along that route, then you'll know that that's not necessarily the way that life works. You just come out with a load of debt and you're just very good at, I come out, you know, good at football and good at drinking. And that was about it, really. So, but I accidentally found myself running a business. I become a PT because there was no jobs. The only reason I become a PT is because the company guaranteed that I would get a job from it. They didn't obviously follow through on that guarantee. It was a load of bullshit, like a lot of marketing in the world, unfortunately. And I was like, well, I'm gonna have to do something. At this point, I already had a son. I had a son at 17. So that was cool. That was difficult, really fucking difficult. And then I had a second son on the way, and it was like, I just found myself running a business. I found myself, all of a sudden, it's like I had accounts and tax and, you know, invoices and clients, and trying to grow the business, and I'm doing marketing courses, and I'm trying to be all things. I'm trying to be an accountant, a marketer, a PT, a coach, a dad, you know. And before long, I actually found myself with staff and studios, and it was like, it was a complete shit show for me. There was money everywhere. There was, you know, it's like the more I earned, the more I spent. It looked like I had it all together. It looked like I had, you know, my life figured out because I was making money and everything looked great and I looked good. I was in good shape and I was energetic and happy. But behind the scenes, behind closed doors, I honestly believed I was bipolar. I honestly believed there was something wrong with me. I was mental. And Jenna, we've been together 11 years. We got married last year. So she was with me through this. And I honestly believe there was something wrong with me, because whilst in front of clients, I'd be like really energetic and positive and happy. And some days I felt like I could take over the world. It was like, oh my God, I'm going to, you know, revolutionize this industry, and all my dreams are possible. You know, I wanted success. I wanted happiness. I wanted the holidays, the adventure, the freedom. You know, I wanted it all. I wanted to be successful in all areas. And on some days I felt like I was so capable of that, and things would go right and clients would join and people would be getting amazing results. And there was such a kind of buzz and an energy. But then the next day I'd feel like, who the fuck am I kidding? Who the hell am I kidding to even think that this is even a possibility? Like, nothing's possible. The negativity would come in, the self-doubt, you know, and I'd find myself riding this emotional roller coaster of kind of ups and downs and it was confusing to me. That's why I thought I was bipolar. And Jenna did too, because one minute I'm saying, oh my God, yeah, it's amazing. The next I'm coming in saying, I've had enough of it. I'm quitting. Let's just go to Thailand or something where we can live on like £500 a month. And she'd be like, what's happened? Like, 1 minute. And sometimes it wasn't even within like days, it would be within minutes. I could get one email from a client. It'd be like, oh, fuck it, I've had enough. And I'd be in like what I'd call a hole. I'd go into this kind of darkness and it wasn't much fun, but I didn't know that this was okay. I didn't know that this was normal. No one else really understood why I did what I did anyway. No one else, someone said, Sophie said, this is exactly where I am right now. So you're in the right place. No one really got me, because I've always been kind of a bit extreme, a bit all or nothing. You know, it's like if I do something, I do it 100 miles an hour, or I don't do it at all. You know, I've always been, always felt a bit misunderstood, because I've always kind of been obsessed with pushing myself further, or, you know, and people would say, why can't you just get a job? Or why can't you just be content? Or why can't you just settle down? Or why can't you just sit still? Or why can't you just stop talking so loud? Or what? I don't know. But all that kind of contributed to reoccurring thinking, I guess, of what's wrong with me, and how do I just be the best version of myself every day? Because if I could be that version of myself every day, then anything is possible. But the problem is how much time I'd spend, you know, pretending I was in a meeting when really I was in bed, or, you know, just hiding the kind of parts and fighting this war within my own mind, because I was trying to kind of outthink my negative thinking and affirmations and all the shit that didn't seem to really work for me. And I'd be doing all of the stuff that's supposed to make you feel better, but it kind of just wasn't really working for me. But before I carry on, does anyone relate to that so far? Does that make sense? Yeah, definitely same here. And it can be lonely when misunderstood, even when people are around. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So it seems like a few people are on a similar wavelength with this. Now, to carry on that story, whilst a few of you are, Sophie said it's like it's me talking. To carry on that story, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm going to try. Vashi, is it? Says definitely a roller coaster of emotions. I kept going because I couldn't quit, because I was now in my own kind of self-created prison, this rat race of I need to keep earning, and much to most people's kind of I can't think of the words, but most people always think that I then come across psychology and CBT and neuroscience and all of that stuff and then change my life. But actually what happened is, the more I dug into that stuff, the more I got to know the industry, the more I felt like there was more problems with me, the more I felt fucked up, the more I felt like a fraud, because I know what to do, but I don't seem to be able to gain control of my feelings, thoughts, and emotions. And what this eventually happened is the business with staff, with 2 locations by this point, was, you know, it was obviously starting to get into debt by this point, because it was like this constant need to make money, and money was flying all over the shop. And in the end, I just said, I've had enough. I'm done. And I walked away, and really it wasn't the best way of handling it. Looking back, I was just running away from the stress of it all. I just couldn't handle it anymore. So that was it. Lost everything. Like, business was shut, bank accounts were all shut, court summons, you know, debt collectors, and lost the house, had to move in with the in-laws. And yeah, that was interesting time. It was an interesting time, but it gave me an opportunity to work out what the hell had happened. And through that, that's how this business was born, because I started talking about this stuff, and that was scary as fuck, by the way, to start off with. And people kept coming to me saying, oh my God, it's like you're saying the thoughts in my head. It's like, I didn't know anyone else felt this way. And whilst that was useful for them, because that was useful for them to know, it was actually useful for me, because I was like, oh my God, I'm not the only one, which was incredibly, that even just knowing that can sometimes bring a lot of comfort to people when you go, okay, I'm not mental. And especially because up until this point, everything I've done has mainly been one-to-one until like the last few months. This is something I've, you know, always just loved doing, but just didn't make a priority until recently. And all my one-to-ones are typically really successful, have the money, the cars, the house, the wife, the kids, the husband, the whatever. They've got it all, and we're going to talk about that. But then they're going, what the fuck is wrong with me? Because they still relate to this. They still have the emotional roller coaster. They still have the ups and downs. They still feel like running away from it, or they still have anger or lose it over small things, or stuff piss them off and they lose their temper. They still have the same shit. And it was like, oh, okay. So it doesn't really seem to matter where you are on this journey, how successful you are or aren't, or whether you're in a job or a business, or there seems to be a certain category of people like us that seem to relate to this. Right, let me just quickly read these comments and then I'll get into the slides. So Luke said, I wish I could control how I feel. We should be able to answer that a little bit today. Absolutely. Single parent of 2 kids, childcare business, which has grown brilliantly over the last year. Still struggling with my own self-growth, confidence and belief. Looking forward to watching this. I think this lockdown is worse than the roller coaster as well. Yeah, I've definitely seen that, by the way, with everyone, myself included, which we'll talk about. The amount of courses I've been on, it's ridiculous. You don't follow through with things as you subconsciously think this isn't going to work like all the others. Yeah, totally. Nathan, it's not really information we need, it's understanding, and we'll get into that. You know, we can, I'm already flowing, I'm off topic, so I hope you guys have got time. Because we think we need information. If you read my emails, you'll see that. We think we need information, but we don't. We need understanding, we need insight. We are overusing logic. You know, most of the, do you know some of the most successful people I know are actually not intelligent at all. They're really not intelligent. And that's such a strength to them because they don't overthink anything. They go, I want to sell this. And they go, all right. And then they go, yes, I sold 1 million of them. And you're like, what the, how, when? Because I go, right, I want to sell this, but what color? But it's blue. But will people want it? Yeah, but what about the lid? Is the lid the right design? I don't know. No one needs it. It's fucking shit. What a crap idea. No, it's a good idea. I don't know. I can't make my mind up. Like, that's an extreme example. So it's like, sometimes actually creative people and intelligent people suffer with this the most because we overuse logic. We're trying to figure things out. We're trying to look through what we think we already know. We're gathering information and running everything through the glasses of what do I know? What's already true? What research have I done? Who does this? Which guru told me that? This guru told me this. This guru told me that. We analyze everything. We forward think. We create 10 different scenarios. And from 10 different scenarios, we've created 15 reasons why it might work, 7 why it might not. And no wonder we don't, you know, move forward or we get wrapped up in it because we're overusing logic. We're overusing the conscious part of our minds. Does anyone relate to that part? Yes, Annie said that's what my mind does, overload. I talk myself out of things. Yeah. The more I read or indulge about self-improvement, I find so many flaws. That's an example of it. And I feel I don't deserve better because I'm full of flaws. My therapist says I look for explanations too much, rationalizing, overthinking. I love this because it's like, I get it. That's why I do this. Like, I'm not above this. I am this. That's why I talk about it. But through my experience, I've just found new ways of being and doing things and seeing things that have helped. Yeah, cool. So even, you know, I used to do that. It's like someone did it on my Instagram. I don't know if they're here or not, but I posted about how criticism only ever comes from people behind you, not ahead of you. And someone wrote, but what about constructive criticism? And it's like, that is an example of it. It's like trying to find the way in which what I've said is wrong. Like, we're analyzing everything, and there's no absolute truth in this world. There's nothing, as far as I can see, that's 100% true 100% of the time. And that's where we can get lost in the logic of it, because you will, if you're looking for ways in which you can't sell this, you will find ways. If you're looking for ways in which you can sell it, you'll find ways. Like, the problem is we get kind of lost in the chaos of the in-between. Does that make sense? I'll scroll across here to have a look at some people. Yeah, cool. So I can obviously see some faces along the top. Yeah, logic. It's a Reese. Yeah, logic is just the recycling of already known facts. It's not intelligence, or it's not intelligence at all. Intelligence is making complex idea into a simple model. Yeah, totally. And that's what I mean. Some of the most intellectual people I know are the ones that suffer the most. So, right, let me crack on with this. Let me just let someone else into this. It has a very suspicious looking name. So hopefully we're not. I've seen some of these Zooms where people come on naked and shit. So just FYI, if anyone does that, obviously I'll be escorting you out of the virtual room. Anyway, let me share my screen and hopefully this will work. So can everyone see my slides? I've now lost the comment section, so that's not useful. Hang on, here they are. So I've got the chat back up so I can kind of keep in touch with what's going on. Cool, awesome. Yep, able to see the slides, perfect. So I've called this webinar about 1 million different things because I'm trying to explain the unexplainable. I'm trying to shine the light on the direction of something that sometimes you have to listen to the words behind the words. You have to listen without listening. It's like what I'm saying and what I mean they don't always match up. And that's the nature of this kind of conversation. So you really need to, for a second, put the overthinking, put the overanalyzing, put the, do I agree with this or not? And can I argue with this? Put all of that to one side. And I'm not saying because you should blindly believe me, that's not what I'm saying, but put all that to the side and run this through a kind of deeper feeling, like kind of sit with this and see what you can hear between the words, if that makes any sense. So what we're going to cover, hopefully not taking too long because I do like to talk, as you can gather. So this is essentially what we're going to cover. What is the true source of anxiety, stress, anger, overwhelm, etc.? So really the true source of our suffering, our challenges. Phil, I just realized I can see you there. I didn't realize you're on camera. It's nice to have a friendly face. I'll keep looking to you. So if it's shit, just like do this to me. And if it's good, just give me like, be like a cheerleader or something. So the inside out understanding, why positive thinking isn't the answer and can make things worse. And then unlocking the power of your superconscious mind to transcend stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. And actually, for me, this isn't just about getting out of pain, getting out of suffering. It's actually once you start to break free from the limitations of your thinking, the whole world opens up and you go, wow, like there's so much more possible. Right now, I don't know where you're at right now. Some of you might be thinking, I wish I could just be happy, or I wish I could just not feel like shit, or but some of you might be a little bit kind of not further ahead, because that would assume there's some kind of timeline. But that actually, it's like, yeah, I want to do that, but I also want to create an epic life. Like for me, it wasn't just about feeling happy. It was about how do I be happy, but be a good dad, be a good husband, get in great shape, you know, create an epic life, an epic business, do all the things I want to do, you know, get married, travel, you know, the kind of more vision stuff. But if you're not there, it doesn't matter. If you are, then we're going to talk to that as well. So I've already asked you this question while we're here. I've already asked you what you most want from this. I didn't ask you why you most want it, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So diving into the first part. Hang on, let me just check in. So do you still overthink? Is it something you practice every day? Yeah. So I'm going to ignore some of the questions for now, not because I don't love you and your questions. Feel free to chuck them in there, but because I'll try and get into flow with this a little bit. And I do talk fast and I do get excited. So if you need me to kind of explain things, then I will keep an eye, but I'll try not to be too distracted. So ultimately, what happens is all of life seems to be based on a misunderstanding. It seems to be based on a misunderstanding or an illusion of how we think things work. So most people think that an event or a circumstance creates their thoughts and feelings, which is a very consistent illusion, because it certainly appears that way. I believe that was true. You know, it looks like when someone, you know, yesterday someone had a go at me because apparently there wasn't enough room to get past me. You know what people are like at the moment. I was having a conversation from like 4 meters apart. She needed to walk between. Anyway, and it'd be very easy when I said to her, there's 2 meters here, you know, and that was all that happened in that conversation. It'd be very easy to make the assumption that she caused me the anger and the frustration. And I might obviously be teaching you guys to suck eggs. I think you know this, but stick with me because we're going to go with this. And this is what I used to think. It really was the bank balance. It really was the car or the house, or it really was the fact that someone didn't pay their invoice, or it really was that my tax bill was bigger, or it really was that someone cut me up in traffic. It appeared that way, and it's very consistent illusion that that's true. And it makes a lot of sense because that's the way it looks. So yeah, most people think that their event or circumstances, these emojis are shit, and I apologize. That's supposedly me. So most people think that if the event and circumstances are obviously what make them feel happy or angry. So it's kind of like the outside world is actually what causes us the emotions. And these slides, I'm already going to fly off and go on tangents. But if the outside world is really the problem, then why do we all have a different experience? Or a different experience of the same experience? Why do we have a different experience of the same event? So I use the example all the time that all of us could go and watch a film, but yet we'd all have different opinions of it. We'd have different opinions of the actors, the acting, the storyline, you know, if someone went to like film school, if that's a thing, they might be criticizing the camera angles, and someone else was like, what the hell are you talking about? I didn't even notice. Or, you know, we all have a different opinion. Phil, what have you said there? Should have used Chris Martin pictures. Yeah. Do you know how often I've got that recently? About 7 times in the last week. It's insane. I don't know if it's good or bad, but anyway, so we all have a different experience of the same. So that already starts to point to, hang on a minute, we must have something off here. It can't be the outside world or the event or circumstance that's making me feel something. Because if that was true, we would all have the same opinion of everything. It's like one thing I always use. How many people are on here? Let me quickly look and make sure no one's waiting to get in. So there's 22 in total of us. So is there one James on this call, or is there 22 of them? Because there's who I think I am, and each of you have a perception of who you think I am. One of you might think I'm a complete dick. One of you might think that I'm funny. One of you might think I'm not funny. Like, you all have a different perception of who you think I am, which means that the external isn't really consistent or true. It kind of points us in the direction of something else. Does that make sense so far? Yeah, I've got some nods. Cool. So I'll just look for the nods. So you guys at the top, I can't see your names annoyingly, but you're helping me here because I can just get you to nod and make sure I'm on track. So what if we have it backwards? And again, some of you will know this, but stick with me because I kind of need to go through this before we get to the real good stuff. So essentially what's happening is we are projecting our thoughts and perceptions out into the world and then viewing them back. That's really what's going on. It's not the film that we're watching. It's our opinion of the film. It's our thoughts about the film. It's what we think the film represented, didn't represent. It's the emotions that have been created from our thinking that have been projected out onto the film and then viewed back as if it's true. So some people call this confirmation bias. It's like negative people always see negativity. Negative people will always find a negative situation in every positive. They'll find a problem for every solution because they're viewing the world through the perception of all good things come to an end, or this is too good to be true, or, you know, the world's shit for some reason. So that's what they're viewing the world through, and that's what they see more of. It is something they call confirmation bias. It confirms that we were right, because that's what the ego wants to be. It wants to be right, rather than be open-minded to actually experiencing something different. So we get trapped in this where, and the same can be true for optimists as well. You know, it can go anyway, but the point is that we project our thinking out into the world and then we see it back, and that confirms that we were right. It's the part of the brain, if you want to go neuroscience-y, is the reticular activating system, or the RAS. So have you ever noticed when you buy a new car, you then see that car everywhere? And you're like, it's like everyone's bought that car, but it's not that. It's just that because that's become important to you, that's what your brain starts seeing more of. So the more we try and figure things out, the more we seem to have to figure things out. The more we can find reasons as to why something may not work, the more reasons we seem to find as to why that doesn't work. And then we'll go out and accidentally, subconsciously gather data that confirms that we were right. We'll find all the reasons that confirm that. So we get stuck in this loop. Does that make sense so far? And can anyone relate to that? Yeah, cool. So I don't know how you pronounce this guy's name, David Bohm, I think. He's a physicist. Thought creates the world, then says I didn't do it. So what I'm kind of pointing to here is that our world is actually thought created, not external, which we'll get into. So two things that I see a lot, and I've been doing this quite some time now, is you can get some people who kind of play the victim to circumstances. And I'm not blaming anyone for doing this. Life's hard, you know, anxiety and stuff can come from this. Let me quickly look. Yeah, and when I'm having a good week, negative events don't bother me as much. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, you can be in this place where basically I've got no control, so there's no point anyway. This is a really shit place to be. If you're here, then hopefully we'll kick you out of that place. Or if you've been here, then you'll know. Just replenishing with some green tea. Yeah, so I'm Mr. Victim. Do you know what? Fair play for admitting that, though. That's a fucking good start, because some people don't even know it. At least you're aware of it, which is awesome, because once you're aware of it, you know, we flip that pretty easy. So this is what some people do. They can't control it, so why bother? You know, life's shit, everything's shit, nothing good happens to me. It always seems to happen for everyone else. And again, if you're looking for that, trust me, you can find it. You know, if you're looking for why life is so crap, you will definitely find reasons. Like, life is shit. It's total shit. It just so happens that we actually have the resources in order to make it good if we know how. So life is hard. Like, my son told me life's unfair. And I'm like, yeah, it totally is. But if you focus on why it's unfair, it will just get even more unfair. And if you focus on, yeah, it is unfair, but, you know, let's play the game and play the game to the best of my ability, you'll find that you start to win more. So it's still a kind of a mindset thing. Now, mindset is just thoughts and beliefs. There's thoughts and beliefs that are so consistent and so true that they become, your behavior conforms to them, your life conforms to them, and you end up in the perpetual cycle. So this is what I see in some ways, where the event and circumstances happen, their thoughts and feelings are, this is shit, this causes me stress, I'm never doing this again. I've put ads on Facebook and I got abused, and I'm not doing that again because they felt the emotions they didn't like. You know, the action is to follow that through. I get a lot of abuse on Facebook, by the way. It's crazy. I also get a lot of love. So if you send me some love, then I appreciate that. It's always nice. I get a lot of abuse. I get a lot of, it used to really bother me. It'd create the thoughts of, and this is real, it'd create the thoughts of, fuck this, why do I bother? I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to change the world. And all I get is these people. What's the point of all of this? I might as well, why don't I just do something else, like selling water bottles or something that, you know, is meaningless but makes money, requires less energy from me. And my feelings would be, they would follow that. Your feelings follow your thoughts. It'd be like, you know, down, depressed, pointless, victim, you know, no one appreciates me, or I don't know, whatever the thoughts with the feelings would be. And the action would be to turn the ads off. And the result would be that my business doesn't grow. And then it feeds back into the circumstance again. Life's difficult. I can't make any money. You see the cycle. I know that's just an example, but that's an example of how the cycle can work. Does that make sense so far? Is everyone still with me? Cool. So the opposite can also be true, where, hang on a minute, this is going all over the shop. The opposite can also be true, where actually, you know, an event happens and we can kind of have different thinking and different feelings around that, which changes our action, changes our results. It becomes a cycle. So this is kind of pointing to the fact that our thoughts and feelings play a role here, and we will get into that. But what I've then seen is people that take responsibility for their circumstances. The people that don't, this is where, what's the point? I'll fail anyway. If I don't try, then I won't fail. That's always an interesting one. I'm too anxious, worried, afraid, you know, and they've got a what if to everything. Do this, yeah, but what if it goes wrong? What if it, and we find excuses. And again, I'm not digging anyone out. If that's you, I've been there. That's how I know it. And we all still do it on some level in some area of our life, but we'll get into what we do with that. And that's all just, it's self-protection on some level. It's self-protection. You know, if you don't try, you don't fail. It means you're protecting yourself from emotion that you don't want to feel. But some of this is invisible. Some of you will obviously be aware of it. Now, the opposite can be true. And this is where I've dabbled a lot as well. And especially with clients, where we tell ourselves, I'll be happy when. It's like, I'll be happy when I have this much in the bank, or this car, or this house, or this many followers, or this many people on a webinar, or X, Y, or Z, a husband, a wife, or whatever. You can fill in the blank. Where we can live in the gap of, this is where I am, but this is where I want to be. And that feels pretty crap, because it's like you're always looking at where you want to be. You're always chasing, but never arriving, chasing happiness, but never really feeling it. Like, as I said earlier on, a lot of my clients, not all of them, but a lot of my clients have played that game long enough to, they've sacrificed, they've burnt out, they've chased, they've ridden the roller coaster of life circumstances, only to find they're still not happy. They're still not fulfilled. They still have this bit of a void going on. Let me just scroll down so I can see where I'm at with this. So the problem with this is, when we're looking at life circumstances in order to make us happy, number one, if you've done it long enough, you'll know it doesn't work. You'll know that. And I've worked with clients that have told me, when I have $1 million in the bank, then I'll feel secure and happy. And then, or to use a real example, someone recently, he sold his business. He had 2 million in his bank. He got on the phone to me and he was more stressed than he's ever been, because he's now worried about, what if I lose it? What if the banks go under? The banks are highly leveraged. Where do I split it? How do I? And it was like, bloody hell, you know, and actually what come from him during that conversation was regret, because he regretted chasing this, I'll be happy when, chasing money, chasing this illusion of happiness, only to find he's got there and it's not real. I've seen people retire and do the same thing. I've done it. I won't talk too much about it, but I honestly believed when I had money, or some level of money, I'm not a billionaire by any stretch of the imagination, but my whole life I told myself, when I had a nice car, oh, that'd be everything. And I remember when I first got a nice car, And it's like, I believe that when I drove up in this car, everyone would give me a cheer. Everyone would give me a clap. Everyone would be like, oh my God, I want to work with you because you're successful, you know? But what actually happens is you get in the car, and on a good day, you love it. On a bad day, you forget you're even driving it, and you pull up and no one even notices anyway. And it's like, fuck, I've chased this. I've chased this illusion and this dream for years, like this lie that suddenly I'd be happy. But it's like, why on some days I love the car, and other days I forget I'm driving it. And some days, there was a time where actually my newest car, all it did was piss me off because I ripped the bumper on a speed bump. Then someone keyed it and I was like, fuck this car. I miss having an old banger that I didn't care about. Does anyone relate to this so far? Yeah. So this is the problem. If we're looking to our life circumstances to make us happy, they're out of our control. And you'll see that. You'll see that. I've got a client or an ex-client, actually. Hopefully he'll speak to me again because he probably needs to. He was killing it financially, you know, driving a Bentley, 15 grand Rolex, etc. He is absolutely tanked during COVID because he's lost the illusion of control. Everything that he like, the thing is, when you look into your circumstances, if you're a high achiever or whatever you want to call it, when you're spinning all the plates and it's all going right and you're getting the sales and life's going in your way, and, you know, you think that you've got stuff figured out. You're like, oh my God, I've nailed this. I've mastered it. Everything's positive. I'm killing everything, you know, not literally. And that feels epic. But the problem with that is it's all based on the illusion. It's all based on the external, because the minute COVID-19 comes along and destroys your business in some cases, or the minute someone doesn't pay you what you would, or there's your accountant messed up your tax bill, or you get fired, or I don't know, whatever happens, you get made redundant, suddenly you crash and burn because all of your grounding and your happiness and your confidence and your success has been placed on an external reality that's an illusion. Does that make any sense? Yeah. Let me just quickly check in the comments here. Would do anything to have the 57 plate Ashford back. Yeah, honestly, I had a 55 plate Vectra. Loved it. I remember I was in a car park and I reversed, smash into this post. And the woman next to me was like, oh, you know, pure panic. Like, and I got out and I was like, whoops. Just didn't care because it was just an old banger. It was brilliant. I kind of miss that on some levels. Now it's like you're going down the curb and Jenna keeps curbing the alloys and it's like, it makes me twitch. I'm like, stop driving it. But so anyway, back onto the subject. So the problem with this is, if I can get my thingy doing it, and you have to ignore my little scribbles here. I don't normally do slides, so I think I'm doing all right today. Is if you're looking for your outside circumstances, if you're looking to life circumstances for happiness, then it does become a self-fulfilling prophecy. It feels epic when you're getting it right, and it feels crap when you're not. You know, if I got up and I'd meditate and I'd journal and I'd, you know, shout a positive affirmation in the mirror, and that day I just so happened to get a new client, and I don't know, something good happens, and you go, oh yeah, I've got this figured out. But inevitably, and trust me, if you think that life ever gets easy, it doesn't. I just think we get better at dealing with it, or don't, depending on what decisions you make. But you will have a bad day. There will be a day where shit happens. And again, if you've placed all of your happiness and emotions on life circumstances, then you will ride the roller coaster of life's ups and downs. Life is like the seasons. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it rains. And if your happiness is placed on the seasons of life, then you'll always find you're riding with the seasons. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's cool. I just glance across and see nods, and that's all I need. So yeah, I'm kind of belaboring the point here, but the point here is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where, you know, circumstances happen, we have thoughts and feelings, creates an action, creates a result, and then feeds in. But what I'm kind of pointing to with this, let me just get ahead of my slides and make sure I'm actually where I'm supposed to be. Yeah, so what I'm talking about here essentially is that event and circumstances aren't really the issue. I'm not saying we don't change them. I'm not saying that the creation of life isn't epic and so much fun. But what I'm saying is if we only look here, we're always going to be juggling and fighting the illusion of control, which everyone's kind of looking for on some level. They're looking to kind of control their circumstances, or some people are. So some people look here instead. So I've expanded this here: events, circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Some people look to their actions, where they're like, okay, cool. I want to change my circumstances. So therefore I need to work harder. I need to hustle harder. I need to just work my ass off. I need to sacrifice my health, my happiness, my relationships in order to create the circumstances that make me feel good. And this works for some people for a period of time. Most of my clients have done this. They've worked their ass off for 10 years before they've then realized it's not actually fulfilling and the chase never ends. Other people, however, have the battle because they're trying to work their ass off, but they find themselves procrastinating, overthinking, not taking action. And then it's like that creates less of a result. Their circumstances don't get better. Then their thoughts and feelings are, what's wrong with me? Why am I so lazy? Why can't I do it? Then their action is, let's listen to a motivational video, take some action for 5 minutes, and it becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense. But let me just have a little sip of my tea for a second. So that's all great until it isn't, basically. Let me skip ahead because I want to get into the good stuff so far. You can probably already see what's coming here. So the inside out understanding. So just to make sure I've covered that last point, all of our stress isn't actually coming from our event or our circumstances. The same way that there's 22 different versions of me or a million different interpretations of a film, there's a million different interpretations of success or money or houses or cars or body shape or etc. It's your interpretations. It's therefore your thinking. All of your stress, all of your worries, all of your anxieties all come from your thinking, which is quite difficult to accept for some people. One of my clients said to me, and I've stolen this from him, he said it in a conversation. So I'm taking ownership of it because it come from my question. So that's fine. I'll just steal it. He said, when he got this, he's like, oh my God, it's like I have been creating the storm, but then complaining when it rains. I was like, yeah, totally. You got it. I know I've done my job when you come out with that, and I've stolen that. Because everything is based in our thinking. Our thinking actually informs our feelings, which inform our actions, which inform our results, which then actually changes our event or our circumstances. So if we're looking to action and you're not taking the actions, it's because you're missing the thoughts and the feelings in order to back up why take that action. Is that the right action for you? Is that aligned to who you are? Etc. If you're overthinking it, you don't take the action. If you're overthinking it, you feel a different emotion. If you're anxious about it because you're scared, then that emotion takes over and the actions don't happen. Then your circumstances don't change. So as I'm saying, it's like a cycle. But what we need to do is look here first, and it isn't necessarily positive thinking, which we'll get into. So let me just check in. So what about the saying, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best? Don't know. What about the saying? The thing is with sayings like that is without context, it's like, what does it mean? If a client said that to me, and I laugh because Phil will know this, I'd be like, what do you mean by that? Like without the understanding of what does that really mean? What does that mean? What does it mean to you? Like, I don't know. Do I want to do that? Do I want to prepare for the worst but hope for the best? No, that sounds shit to me. If I'm preparing for the worst, I'm basically, that's anxiety. I'm looking into the future and creating an illusion of something bad happening so that I can be prepared for it. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that, to be honest. Because what you'll find is that never ends. I had clients come to me that had a contingency plan for a contingency plan for a contingency plan. They'd created a million different things that could go wrong. I could die tomorrow. Right. So, okay, cool. I need life insurance, or I could break my foot. Okay. I need income insurance. I could crash the car. Okay, cool. It's like, when does that end? I don't know. You have to kind of check in and go, is this useful? And how useful is it? Some things are worth following through and saying, okay, cool, what do I need to prepare for? What feels like I need to prepare for? And some things just aren't, because they never end, essentially. You can always find more of that. Yeah, for me, I guess if I'm going to flip this, I'd say I want to prepare for the best, but just know that I can deal with the worst. If the worst happens, I'll deal with it. I trust myself to deal with the worst case. I don't need to prepare because that's all the preparation I need. I'll work it out as long as I don't die, in which case I have actually got life insurance. So, So anyway, let's crack on with this. So we're not living in the feeling of our circumstances. We're living in the feeling of our thinking. It's not, you're all having different experiences of me talking, you know. To some people, these are glasses. To some people, these are a waste of money, because pretentious me 4 years ago had to get bloody Ray-Bans, you know, because I thought I was the big swinging dick. I paid like 300 quid more than I needed to, because back then my perception of these glasses, or what that meant, would mean that I'm successful or something. I was looking in the direction of wealth back then, and thinking that would make me feel okay. I could speak more freely and talk about the stuff I care about if I made money. That was a story that went on for me. But to someone else, they might go, yeah, I totally agree. I love glasses. Someone else might say, well, they're shit. What's the point? Or why don't you wear contact lenses? Or why didn't you just get some cheaper ones? Or so we're not living in our circumstances. It's not really the bank balance. It's what you think of the bank balance. It's not really the house. It's what you think of the house. It's not really the way people treat you. It's what you think about how they're treating you. It's not really that people give you negative comments on your Facebook ads or something. It's your thoughts around what you are interpreting them to mean. And then that's getting translated into emotions and so forth. So have I explained that okay? Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. And the reason I say all of this is because, as I said, like, we're all looking to the outside world. Everyone thinks that if I can just make the outside world look the way I want it to look, then I'll feel okay. But it just doesn't work like that. It never, ever ends. Like, as I said, I go to the extreme ends of the spectrum because they make the best examples. As I said, it's like so many of my clients have told me when they had this much money in the bank, they'd be happy. And then on the journey with me, they've got there and gone, oh shit, I don't feel any different, or they're more worried, or they say the more money you have, the more problems you've got, and that isn't true. That's just their interpretation. But that's because they were hoping that the bank balance outside of their brain would make them feel something different. They didn't realize that the security, the abundance, the inner peace, the happiness, the appreciation, that's an inside job. That's a thought created and therefore feeling created experience. So anyway, let me move on, because I'm definitely going to be here for all night otherwise. So as we said, thought creates feeling. And then, let's go back. Thought creates feeling, which creates your action, which creates your result. And your result essentially is life. So it's all thinking based. And I'm spending a lot of time on this. So let me move on. So you probably heard the phrase already that where attention goes, energy flows and results show. It's saying the same thing. Everyone is trying to say the same thing. There's wisdom from hundreds of years ago, you know, that's been trying to point us in the direction for such a long time, but we're kind of missing it to a certain extent. You know, probably the Western world to a certain extent. We're being sold the dream. We're being sold happiness, essentially. We're being sold that if you just go on holiday, you'll feel less stressed, and if you just get the right house, car, etc. We are being sold and conditioned that. So, you know, we're not to blame as such. But so what I wanted to show you here is our perception is our reality. And I love this. I love this thing. So let me know in the comments, what way is this woman spinning? Is she spinning left, like clockwise, or anti-clockwise? Or left or right, whatever you want to call it. Right. So someone said right. Right, maybe left, not sure. Clockwise. Left clockwise. Anti. So Phil said anti-clockwise. Clockwise, left, but not very clear. Okay, cool. So you can probably see we've had a few different opinions there. Some saying left, some saying right, some saying clockwise. Everyone's perception is going to be different. Totally. Yeah. Brownie points for Ashley there. Both. Something is telling me that it does not matter where. Kind of both now. Right. So let's move on. What way is she spinning now? Is she left or is she right? In fact, I'm going to speed this up. I think you're probably all going to say just one person reply with, or you may even just notice it's either what you thought or it's the other way. What about now? So is it going the opposite way? Is it going a different way? Like from what I can see now, if you look at the left and look back, she's going anti-clockwise. Has it changed? Someone give me a nod. Phil, where are you at? Actually, let's check in with you. Is it a different way? You don't know? Don't overthink it. Right, let me put them together then. So you'll find that if you look at this one, she's probably spinning clockwise. If you look at this one, she's probably spinning anti-clockwise. Now, the way this kind of works is if you look at this one, then if you look at these two, you'll find that it's going this way. If you look at these two, you find it's going the opposite way. Let me have a look. Currently working, staff member down. I'm going to switch on video and keep tuned in Zoom chat. Yeah, okay, no worries. I'll have to send you all this GIF at some point, or GIF or GIF or whatever the hell it's called. But the reality with this is she's kind of spinning both ways, but kind of it's based on perception. It's like it's whatever your brain is interpreting to be the right way. So when we add this in, we then have kind of reference points. So imagine this is negativity and this is positivity. We kind of see what we think we're seeing. It kind of changes depending on circumstances, or depending on the kind of the filters we're running them through. So as I said, yeah, perception is reality. I can probably show you another example. I was going to show you another example actually. Although we're likely to go over probably about, I imagine, another 20, 30 minutes. Does everyone have time? If not, I'm going to shorten this. Is everyone good for about another 20 or 30 minutes or so? Just because then I can show you some. Yeah, cool. Just let me know in the chat. Yeah, awesome. Because this is one of my favorite things. So I don't need to miss out on this. This is my poor brain right now can't process this spinning woman. Forget the spinning woman. So, right, what I'm going to get you to do for this is I've combined a couple of techniques here. And as far as I'm aware, I've never known anyone else to do this. So I really should pretend it's mine and claim it as my own and give it a cool name. But really, I don't care enough to do that. But what I'm going to get you to do right now is think of something that causes you the most stress. Like one thing, just choose one thing if you can. What is the thing? You don't need to tell me the thing, by the way. Just think of that thing that causes you the most stress, and then number it from kind of 0 to 10. If 10 is like, oh my God, it's so much stress, I want to scream, and 0 is it doesn't bother me, number it and chuck it in chat. I'm just going to shut the window quickly. So 9.5, 10, 15. Awesome. 9, 8.5, 9, 9. Awesome. So we've got lots of high numbers. Sometimes people might say like 1, and I'm like, why are you here? Sounds like you got it figured out. Like, go and chill. Okay, so we've got 9, 9, 9, 8.5, 15, 10, 9, 10, 9. Awesome. Okay. I'm hoping that's everyone's kind of responses, because I want to move us on from this. So remember that number. Write it down if you need to. Now, this is going to get you to kind of interact with me here, not any more than what you're currently doing. You've been awesome, by the way. It makes it a lot more fun for me when you're actively engaged in the conversation. But what I want you to do now is find something. That's 3 more people waiting to get in. I've come in at the good time, maybe. Or maybe not. I'm not sure. So 3 people have just joined. I didn't really see you kind of sat there. I'm going to get you involved in this. I don't know if you dropped out and come back, or whether you just come in. But essentially what I want you to do is think of something that causes you the most stress, and then number that out of 10. 10 being really stressful, 0 being no stress at all. Write that down. You don't need to post it in chat, because we're going to crack on with this. So you quickly need to catch up. So what I'm going to get you to do is find something to look at. So I'm looking at this dude. I've got a little Buddha. How stereotypical is that? Some little Buddha from Thailand. That's so cliche, isn't it? Find something that's not going to move. Look at that thing. So for me, it's the shiny bald head of the Buddha. Look at that thing. Then go into peripheral vision. So just allow everything to come into your vision, the whole room, without moving your eyes. It's like you're relaxing your eyes, like you're going into a stair. So you're looking at that one point, but you're allowing everything to come into your existence. Now what I'm going to get you to do is without changing your focus, without changing the way that vision, that peripheral vision, I want you to start breathing in through your nose, deep into your stomach, and then out through your mouth. So I'm going to do this with you. Now we're going to turn this into 4-second box breathing. So it's 4 seconds in, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. So just pay attention to how that feels as you breathe in deep into your stomach, still keeping that peripheral vision. Just notice how you can see everything. So 4 seconds in, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. Do a few more seconds here. So breathing deep into your stomach, deep into your diaphragm. So staying in that peripheral vision. What we want you to do without changing your breathing, without changing your vision, see if you can think of the thing that's causing you stress. Notice if you can, does it keep dropping? Are you struggling to even pick up the thought again? And now number it out of 10. How much stress is that thought now causing you out of 10? If 10 is high and 0 is low. You can stop that now and let me know in the chat. What's the number now? Did you struggle to think of it? Is the number less? 5. So I only said 5. Can you let me know? Yeah, okay, cool. I can get an idea here. So 5, 4, 5, 5, 5. Definitely less. Relaxed AF after that. I won't swear, even though I swear all the time, but slightly less than previous. Cool. Struggled to think of it. I guess 7. Yeah. What I find is it drops. So I try and pick it up and it goes. And I'm like, no, think of the thought. It goes again. Could still think of it, but 5 now. Cool. So, I mean, there's a free tool for you, by the way. It's one of my favorites. I do it all the time. The peripheral meditating, journaling, relaxing, but the box breathing, I do all the time. It has a massive difference. Didn't struggle too much to think, but I was relaxed. Okay, cool. So I have people do that before calls, before sales calls, before meetings, before work, in traffic, trying to go to sleep, when they wake up and can't get back to sleep. It's like the universal tool. Such a good one. Long story short, the peripheral vision and the box breathing, you're triggering your nervous system into thinking it's relaxed. The fact that you can't pick up the thoughts is my accidental discovery that for me, I use as a tool. Because it's like, if it really is the world that's making us feel stressed, if it really is the world that's making us feel anxious, if it really is the thing that you just thought of that makes you feel stressed, worried, anxious, how did it just change? Unless something come out of your mind and changed it, as far as I'm aware, the circumstances are the same. So the only thing that changed is your perception of it. Well, that's it, your perception of it. Imagine the implications that has. Yeah. So Nico said, I meditate every day, but as soon as I finish my session, the overwhelming present and the overthinking starts again. Totally. I think I got a little mind explosion there. I love this. This is good. This means I'm doing my job. Means I'm not shit. So that's useful. I still, even after like, God, I've been coaching for about 8 years. I've been doing it exclusively online for like nearly 5 years. I still would, and Phil will laugh at this, I'm sure. Like, I'm like, is there anything good in there, or am I just talking bollocks? So imagine the implications of this. What this does is, as soon as you start to see, oh, it's thought created, it's my perception of it, it makes it all a little less scary. Jenna never used to drive my car. She'd be like, oh, I'm scared I'm going to crash it. And I'd be like, so? But it was like she was going into the future, predicting she was going to crash my car, and then living in the present as if it had already happened. But once you see that you're not scared of the situation, you're scared of your thinking, it kind of loses its grasp. You go, because you're not scared of what you think you are. You're scared of what you think. You might want to write that one down. You're not scared of what you think you are. You're scared of what you think. It changes the game, because you're not scared of, I use examples that are relevant to me. You're not scared of getting on stage. You're scared of what you think is going to happen when you get on stage. You're not scared of getting on stage. You're scared of what you think other people are going to think when you get on stage. That's what anxiety is, as far as I'm aware. It's going into the future, creating a negative prediction, and then living in the present as if that's already happened. Does that make sense? So we're not scared of what we think we are. We're scared of what we think. Once you see that, the outside world starts to look a little less scary, and you can start to have a bit more freedom to play the game. So anyway, let me speed this up. But that's what the point of that was. I really wanted to point to that. So I'll skim over these next parts. Can you see all of my slides? Can you see? Yeah, cool. So, because on my screen, I've got all sorts of crap going on, but as long as you can see it, that's good. So why positive thinking isn't the answer and can make things worse. Now, this is my own experience of this, because what happens is it actually becomes a bit of a backwards law. And you might have heard of this. So we now, let's say you're with me right now. And again, this isn't just going to, for some of you, it will settle in straight away. You'll be like, oh my God. You might come away from this and feel different. I have people say, I've watched your video, I don't know why, but I just feel different. And I've noticed this and this and this. That's what I'm trying to create here. I'm trying to not create intellectual knowledge. I'm trying to get you to see something new, get you to see, once you have an insight, sometimes it comes as sometimes it's like a mind blown. Sometimes it's goosebumps. Sometimes it's a wave of emotion. Sometimes it's like a, duh, how did I not see that? I use a really stupid example. And this is more of an external example, and I've told this before and it's weird, but I always tell weird stories because it drives the point home. For years, I played football. I loved playing football at uni, etc. And after football, every single week, every single month, I would have chronic stomach ache. Now, bearing in mind that I did sports science, so you would imagine that I could work this out, right? But apparently I couldn't. I just thought that was just what happens. That's just what happens when you play football. I thought maybe it's the blood going away from the digestive system. That makes sense. It took me about 3 years to realize it's because every morning my pre-match meal was beans on toast. So I'm eating a ton of beans, the musical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot, apparently, which is apparently true for me. And then I'm going out and playing football for 2-3 hours. I'm wondering why I've got chronic stomachache and gas and the shits. Right? I apologize if this isn't the kind of conversation you expected to have, but this is what we're doing. What an idiot. You total moron. How did I not see that? Once you see it, you go, but life is like that. Life is like that, where when you see the thinking that's held you back, when you see thought for what it really is, when you see that you're scared of your thinking, not life, when you see that you've created restrictions, these insights, these discoveries, this awareness about yourself, when you see it, sometimes they come as a facepalm moment. And sometimes you're like, oh, of course. But this is also true for when you're trying to grow a business or you change job or ask for a raise or I don't know, whatever it is you're looking to do. When you stop trying to figure it out and overthink it, the solution is usually quite obvious. The solution is, and we will get into this as well, the solution is usually like, that's really obvious. Or the best one is when someone says to me, it can't be that easy. Why? Why can't it be that easy? Because we overcomplicate it. We think that even the thought, and it's the same, like using Jenna as an example. She's been with me a long time. I've prized her mind open over these years. She's transformed. When she first got with me, she was bulimic. So she used to purge after eating. She was on beta blockers for anxiety. She doesn't do any of that anymore. She's not on medication. And she now actually, after all these years, she essentially does like conscious parenting. She's teaching people how we can raise our children in a conscious way so they grow up to be kind of more resilient, etc., which is epic. I had a point. What the hell was my point? Don't know. Lost my point. Where was I going with that? I can't remember. Phil, help me out here. Where was I going? You know what I'm like. I felt like that was a really good point there and I've forgotten it. So I need to go back and gather that up. I'm sure I was going somewhere interesting. Why positivity doesn't work. That would make sense that I was going there. I can't remember. So that's epic. But if I remember, I'll come back to it. Anyway. So the backwards law of positivity, you've got me back on track, even if I lost my point, is that, negative thinking and positive thinking, obviously that does have an impact. But we then start to think, if you've been in the self-development world for any length of time, you start to think that my thinking is the problem. And if you're like I was, you start to then beat yourself up about it. Because it's like, why can't I control my thinking? Why can't I think positively? You're writing positive affirmations, you're doing all of this stuff. I'd get up at 5, I'd meditate, I'd journal, I'd go for walks, I'd listen to audio, I'd journal, I'd meditate, I'd have coaches, I would do. But I still didn't have control over my thinking. I still couldn't control the way I thought. I still had ups and downs. I still had negative thoughts. Does anyone relate to that? I'm sure you do. Otherwise you wouldn't be here, but just to make sure. So it's like, right, the answer must be positive thinking. But as best as I've seen, and I've seen a lot, how is like controlling your thinking? Let's play with the idea that we can control our thinking. How is that working for you? Because I don't know about you, but I'm halfway through writing a book. I've stopped at the moment because I'm focusing on some other things, and I'll come back to it. But I write about this in the book. And I did it where I sat for a minute and thought, right, let's not think anything. And if you do this, not think anything, let's just do it. Let's just play the game. Let's not think anything for 10 seconds. I'm going to do it with you. Right. I've had a thought already. So what happened was I'm looking at my watch. The thought was, this is a waste of time. Then I looked at my bean bag and read, it says bizarre bag. And I'm like, bean bag. Like, I can't control my thinking. We can never control our thinking. It's ridiculous. Like, even thinking that we need to control our thinking. If we could control it, we wouldn't need to think about it. It's like, I don't need to control this Buddha. He doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't do anything. So I don't need to do anything with him. But if he's fucking running all over the place uncontrollably, I can keep trying to control him if I want, but it's a losing battle. The point is, if you're looking to control your thinking, you're already looking in the wrong place. And if you're like me, I then started to feel more fucked up, more judgmental of myself. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just stop judging myself? Why can't I stop thinking? I should know better. Let's study some more courses. Let's do psychotherapy, CBT, NLP, all the crap. Not saying it's all crap, but it's crap because I was looking in the wrong place. I was looking to achieve something that, as far as I'm aware, cannot be done unless you die, I guess. Maybe if you're like a Buddhist monk for 15 years or something, I don't know. But the way I see thinking is, it's all over the place. I had someone come to me that, honestly, I love this story because it makes me laugh. He came to me years ago. He's one of my first clients, actually, one of my first kind of clients like me. And he was like, yeah, I think there's something wrong with me. And I was like, well, okay, like elaborate. He's like, well, I get weird thoughts. I'm like, right, keep going. He's like, well, like, you know, as an example, I was around my nan's the other day and I just suddenly thought of punching her tea out of her hand. And I was pissing myself. And I don't know if that was professional or not, but I was pissing myself. And that seemed to give him some relief that I wasn't worried about it. And I was like, you know that everyone has weird thoughts, don't you? And he was like, well, like that. I'm like, yeah, totally. Everyone has weird thoughts. Everyone. Like, and to him, that was enough to change his world, because he had been having these thoughts and thinking that they meant something. Why am I thinking that? And then he's trying to control them, trying to suppress them. But trying to suppress negative thoughts is like trying to fight a gorilla. You are never going to win. It's too strong. It's too powerful. And ironically, the more you fight it, the more strength you give it. It's like you're feeding, again, where your attention goes, energy flows. The more you try and control your negative thinking, the more it grows. It's a backwards law, like I said. You don't need to control it. You just don't buy into it anymore. You don't attach to it so much. Like, and I was like, so what does it mean if you want to punch your nan's tea? He's like, well, it's just quite funny, isn't it? I'm like, totally. Do you actually want to do it? He's like, no. I'm like, so why are you worried about it then? And that was the end of it. And I've had a more extreme scenario as well, where someone come to me suicidal. I don't normally deal with this stuff. I didn't expect this. He surprised me with it in the conversation. And I just went with what felt right. And I also knew that if this got tricky, I could definitely point him where he needed to go. But he said, yeah, I think about killing myself. And I was like, cool. And there was like this pause, like he's waiting for me to convince him otherwise, because everyone else had been telling him not to do it. Everyone else had been telling him, don't do it. You've got so much reason to live, you know, your family, blah, 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 blah. I was like, all right, awesome. Like, why? Like, do you want to? And how? Just out of curiosity, like how? Like, because I always imagine, like, how would I do it? Jumping out of a plane, that'd be quite cool. And it was amazing to see the lightness come back into the conversation, because it was the first time he realized he didn't want to do it. He just was thinking he did. So it had gone from this thought that meant it was true to, oh, it's just a thought. Once he saw the illusion of thinking, I want to punch my nan's tea out like her hand, like, or I want to kill myself, or I'm not good enough, or I don't have the confidence. It's just made of thinking. It's all made of the same stuff. It's like a flowing river where from time to time there's bits of shit in it, and bits of twig, and bits of stone, and bits of dirt. And from time to time the water's really cloudy, but that's the nature of thinking. It always, if you leave the water, like if the water's all messy, we think we need to get in and stir it up. That's what positive thinking is, an affirmation. Stir up the water. Like, and all you do, if you get in the pond, right, and you'll know this, you stir all the water up, you just make the water dirtier. That's why when you're in amongst it, you can't figure it out. That if you just leave the water to settle, it eventually runs clear again. And then you get the clarity to work out, right, okay, this is where I'm at, and this is what went wrong. Getting in there and trying to mess around with our thinking, it's all based on a misunderstanding. It's all an illusion of control that we don't have. We're all looking for control on some level. But when you see that it's just a thought, there's a freedom in that, because it doesn't mean anything. It means whatever the hell you want it to mean. Like, I'm talking shit on this webinar. That's a thought. But I can feel that as if it's real, or I can feel that as if it's not. Or I can just see, it's just a thought. Because right behind the thought that I'm doing shit is another thought that says you're doing well. Like, they just flow. Can you see this? Am I just like absolutely riffing right now, going off on one? Is anyone following me? Right, let me quickly check in with the yeah, there's lots of good comments in here. I appreciate this. It makes my life a lot more fun. In my experience, permanent positive thinking highlights how rotten and rubbish you feel inside. And when you feel like that, you're trying to pull yourself together. You feel worse for feeling rubbish in the first place. Totally. I couldn't say it better than that, Louise. That was bang on. So I create ideas and scenarios in my head that haven't happened that affect my confidence, even though it isn't real. Totally. You guys are awesome. You totally getting this. Positive thinking can help, but you can't do it all the time. It's only actions that help. Yeah, it's not our natural state. A psychiatrist said something to me that changed my life. The same way when we have stomachache, the stomach burns. When the brain is not well, it thinks negative thoughts as a symptom. It's not actually ourselves forcing the negative thoughts. We can't control them. Totally. We are not our thoughts. That's what I've learned. Yeah, absolutely. So the fight I was having in my own mind, my book is called Winning the War Within. It's not ready yet, but when it is, I'll let you know, because I was fighting in my own mind. Every time I was negative, I was fighting because I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't feel anxious. I shouldn't feel angry. I shouldn't. And then when I felt good, it's like, oh, this is how I need to feel. This is how I need to feel. I was attaching so much emotion. One of my favorite questions now is does that occur to you as a problem? Someone's like, oh, I just feel really shit today. And I'm like, does that occur to you as a problem? Because if the answer to that is no, you're like, all right, cool. It's acceptance of some days I feel shit and some days I don't. Some days I feel epic, some days I don't. Sometimes I get anxious thoughts and they feel real, but I recognize that they're my thinking. Sometimes I get so zoomed in it that I forget that it's thinking, and then I go, oh, it's my thinking again. That's cool. But you don't have to do anything with it, because the awareness in itself, the mind is self-correcting much more than people give it credit for. And I don't know where the self-development industry went wrong in some levels, but you don't have to do anything with it. But you know what's amazing? And I'm not just saying this from my own experience. I'm saying this from clients' experiences. When I used to get up and be like, oh, I feel like shit today. Oh, I don't want to do this webinar today. Oh, it's totally crap. No one's going to turn up. What's the point of it anyway? Oh, I'm too tired for this. Oh, I need to feel better. Right. How can I force myself to feel better? I would be in this dark place of fighting myself for the whole day. What's wrong with me? How can I teach this webinar if I feel like shit today? I'm supposed to be like this guru and I'm not. And that could go on for days. This fight, this tug of war. These days, if I wake up and I'm like, oh, I can't be asked to do this webinar today, it's going to be shit. You're just like this. Cool. Because you're aware that it's your fault. And if I'm feeling shit, it's not, right, what's going wrong in my outside world? Is what am I thinking that's causing me to feel this way? And that's just interesting. You don't have to do anything with it. So I go, oh, yeah, I just feel like shit today. And this happened recently. Like I told Jenna, yeah, I'm just feeling a bit shit today. Yesterday I felt awesome. Today I don't feel that great. And she's like, do you want a hug? I was like, no, what for? Like, it doesn't occur to me as a problem anymore. But the weirdest thing happens, and I invite you to try this. You just go, oh, I feel like shit. That's cool. What am I thinking? I'm thinking this and this. You don't need to dig around in it. You don't need to fuck around with it. But when you go, all right, awesome, yeah. And it doesn't occur to me as a problem. It's not a negative. I don't need to feel a different way. Suddenly you sit here like this and you go, oh, I don't feel shit anymore. It goes so quickly. Again, it's like the water flows, but we attach to the water and it starts to form an iceberg. And if we think the same thinking enough times, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and it looks real. And we forget that the iceberg is made of the same substance as the water. We're bringing it into life. We're attaching to it. If we just let it flow, it's like, you know, this is a shit thought. And it's like, oh yeah, cool. You know, that's good. And then this is like a positive thought. And you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, they just flow. You don't need to get in our thinking so much. Does this make sense? Or do I sound like I've lost the plot? Like Bruce Lee, be water. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let yourself think the thought and don't beat yourself up for having these negative thoughts. Totally. You'll find your way through it. Often, if you ever noticed you can't see the wood for the trees, when you're in it, you can't work it out. But a day later, you're like, oh yeah. Or a day later, you're like, oh yeah, probably overreacted there. Like, I find it hard to let go that quickly though. Yeah. Because on some, there might be some invisible thinking going on there. You know, I used to hold grudges because I had a condition, an invisible condition in my mind that I couldn't forgive that person until I'd told them why they'd pissed me off. But then when I realized that the only person that was hurting was me, it occurred to me that no longer made sense. Why would I? It's like I'm carrying around this knife in my side saying I'll pull it out once I can tell them how much they've annoyed me. And you go, well, what's the point? I don't really need to do that. Like we create our own problems. And that's so, when you really get that, it's so empowering. And I'm not saying you're going to get this immediately. I'm not saying one conversation with me. Funny thing that happened to me, to wonder myself when I feel good. I don't completely understand that question. I think I'm interpreting that as when you're feeling good, you then wonder why you feel good. We can bring ourselves down from that. We really can. Like, I'm feeling good. Why am I feeling good? Like, I like feeling good. And then it's like, all of a sudden, as you try and grab hold of the emotion, it starts to dissolve. And you're like, oh no, now I've made myself feel shit again. Or you go, all good things come to an end. Oh yeah, that's true. And then that's the thought. So anyway, I really need to move on with these slides. Otherwise we'll be here forever, but I'm having fun. So I hope you are. So the problem with, and I partially covered this, I totally went off on a tangent, but that's my favorite type sometimes, pure flow, is this is negative thinking. This scribble, this weird face that's supposedly me, and this squiggle is overthinking, anxiety, overwhelm, depression, any level of sped up thinking. You'll notice when you feel worse, your thoughts are faster and ruminating. Normally they're open loop, as in there's no end to them. When you feel better, you'll likely find that your thinking is slower, which we'll get into. But the problem with positive thinking is this is your negative thinking. So problem with positive thinking, this is your negative thinking, there's a full stop in my sentence, is you end up thinking about your thinking. So then you're thinking about all the shit stuff, and then you're thinking about the fact that you're thinking about your shit stuff, and you wonder why you're living life in your head and not really being present to the moment. Does that make sense? Yeah. So let me move this over. I've kind of covered this already. So that's all, figuring it out, whatever the patterns are for you, depression, control issues, success and achievement, figuring it out is a big one for me, by the way. I need to know what I'm doing before I do it. Yeah, that doesn't really work. It's like, if you look at kids, if you got kids, they didn't need to goal set or do affirmations in order to walk. They didn't sit there and go, I can walk, or beat themselves up around the emotions. They stand up, they fall over. They stand up, they fall over. They stand up, they do one step, they fall over. Before long, it's two steps. And that's how they figured it out. They figured it out by getting in the game and trying it without overthinking why they're a failure because they fell over 15 times. There's just no level of thinking. I see some laughing there, which is... I think I enjoy this too much, but... So... the answer obviously isn't to control our thinking. As I said, I've got ahead of myself here, but the answer isn't to control, because more thinking about our thinking won't solve the problem. So the more we have on our mind, the more we tend to be a moron. I really like that. The more we have on our mind, got an accent now. The more we have on our mind, the more we tend to be a moron. That's overthinking. That's, as I said, anxiety to me is negatively predicting the future. You'll hear me say that so often. It's negatively predicting the future. Excitement, by the way, is positively predicting the future. They're two sides of the same coin. There's a fine line between, oh, this webinar's going to go amazing, buzzing, or, oh, this webinar's going to go shit, oh, I don't want to do it. There's a very fine line there. So, but the more we're thinking, the reality is if I just didn't think anything, I'd just turn up to the webinar, present and alive to the moment, and I'll just do what I do. So I don't have to think about, what does it matter whether I think I'm going to do well or not? Who really gives a shit? Just turn up, have fun, enjoy it, and show up the best that you can to life and figure it out. Like the child taking the steps. I'm just taking some steps right now. This could be pants. You could all leave. I don't know, but I'll figure it out. That's not how I used to operate at all. Let me just check in. So we'll get to the point, I promise. Hopefully there are many points in amongst this. So the answer then is, if you've read some of my stuff, you'll know this. The answer is then to dissolve our contaminated thinking, because it's the contamination of our thinking that slows us down, that stops us. Because, I mean, that's where people talk about flow. I studied flow a lot at uni, psychology and stuff. It was always fascinated me. You can probably see if you're really paying attention. So the answer is to dissolve our contaminated thinking and get out of our own way. You can probably see if you're really paying attention to me. I am probably better when I go off on a tangent. You lose me for a second. I stare into the distance. I'm in pure flow. It's not scripted. My videos are never scripted. It's coming from somewhere else. Like sometimes the words come out and I'm like, I need to take my own advice. That was epic. Where did that come from? Like, who said that to me? I don't know. But as far as I'm aware, and I've seen this a lot, all humans have that potential. We all have that ability. It just gets crushed and suppressed and oppressed and whatever other words throughout our life. Our thinking builds up, our habitual thinking builds up. We collect data that because this person said I'm not very good, that must be true. We gather all of this contamination of this whole box of thinking around us that suppresses our innate ability. We're all creative. We're all there are things we're all passionate about and good at, and everyone has different strengths, and those strengths are incredible if we allow that. Most people have that. They have that feeling. They have that feeling that they can be more, do more, have more. They have that thing that makes them feel alive. But then they put the thinking over the top of it. I really love this. Yeah, but blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but, oh, what if people judge me? Yeah, but I can't do that because of money, or I can't do that because I've currently got this business and I really need to do it. Logic, intellectual overthinking. Does that make sense? Gone a little bit deeper there, but. Yeah, so Samara, is it? Once out of nowhere doing an MRI, I started to panic. Never happened before. I tried to fight against the thought and made it worse. I said, okay, let's feel the panic. And I emerged into the feeling. Surprisingly, it went away so fast and I fell asleep. Love that. Look, you nailed it already. I've said this to someone before. I said, have you ever seen a fight going on? Yeah, cool. Someone you love, someone you know. Yeah. What happens when you restrain them? What happens if you stop someone from fighting? Do they go, oh yeah, I'm calm now? Or do they try and punch you? Do they try and fight back? Does it make it worse? At least initially. That's what trying to fight our thinking is like. It's like this. I used to call it the gorilla and the human, and I do sometimes. It's like we have this primitive gorilla that's far stronger than us. The ego is a tricky little bastard. If we try and beat it with force, it just fights back. It gets worse. And the same is true if you have anxiety, if you have panic attacks, or the reason I don't have panic attacks or anxiety is because it doesn't occur to me as a problem. It's like, I feel anxious. That's cool. But then it goes, oh, it's like the emotion just goes, just all right. It's like, because it's just a thought. We don't need to do anything with it. It's like, I got in a friend's car the other day. It was a little while back, actually. He got an Aston Martin, and I was like, totally going to drive this thing. And he just gave me the key. And I got in it, and I had no fucking idea what I was going to do. I've never driven a car like that in my life. I don't even have to turn it on. And I'm like, and I can feel myself panicking, and the thoughts are like, I want to crash it. But I'll work it out and just do it anyway. I can drive. I've driven many cars. But that's the difference, is you feel the thought and the emotion, the feeling, but it doesn't have to mean anything. That's the truth. Anyway, so I've got 1:30 call, mate. I've got to go. Cool. That's all right, mate. We'll catch up anyway. So pleasure to have you though, mate. He's disappeared. So Phil's actually a client. He's also in the mastermind. So don't know why you joined me today. Maybe you missed my voice and wanted to hear me again. Let me get on to the point. I'm sure I've covered many points, but is everyone keeping up with this? Because I am absolutely just kind of flowing all over the shop here and just doing what I enjoy, to be honest. And I like to flow with this. I kind of go with where I think the conversation is and just trust that the right words come out. And I have to say things in different ways because it will land with different people in different ways. We will start wrapping this up though, because I just realized the time. So yeah, essentially what I've just kind of touched on there without even meaning to, I'm ahead of myself. And then so we're not far from being done now, actually. Unlocking the power of your superconscious mind to unlock limitless passion, drive, inspiration, and creativity, and transcend stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. You can probably see what I'm pointing to now. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Just kind of keep up with me here, or not keep up with me. Kind of, that's not the word. What is the word? Just let me know. That's probably a better phrase. Does everyone get that feeling like there's a part of you that feels limitless? There's a part of you that dreams and feels capable of more, like there's a bigger vision. Like you may have not felt it in years. Maybe it was when you was younger, or maybe you get it sporadically. Does everyone know what I'm pointing to when I say there's that kind of part of you that just feels limitless? So that's what I'm pointing to with this. If you could call it deeper mind, you could call it superconscious mind, you can call it the universe, creative intelligence. Yeah. I'm going deeper here, right? But I've got a plant here. This plant. How the fucking hell does it know how to grow? Like, I haven't told it It just knows. There's this creative intelligence behind life. There's this, I can see, I'm not sure what your name is. I'm sorry. I can see you laughing and it brings me so much joy, but I can't see your name because I can just see your camera. Let me just switch my view for a second. It still doesn't show me. It's devastating. But no, anyway, it's really good to see because I know I'm kind of hitting the mark. Let me know in chat. I don't know, I forget. Let me just keep going with this and I'll pick it up in a second. But there's this creative intelligence behind life. The example I use, right, is there's this crocodile. I don't know what the bird is. I'm not really, like the next, I don't know, zoologist or something. But Leanne, perfect. I'm enjoying you there, to be honest. It's really bringing some joy to me. But a crocodile, right? And this bird goes in its mouth and it eats stuff out of the crocodile's teeth. How the fucking hell does the crocodile know not to eat the bird? And the bird know to trust the crocodile? It makes no sense. How does a tree grow into a tree? How does this plant give me oxygen and I give it carbon dioxide? How does a cut heal without me needing to think about it, consciously set goals or do anything with it? And I'm not saying all that stuff isn't good. It's useful. It has a place, which we'll hopefully cover. But there is an innate intelligence behind life. At some stage we were all, well, I don't know what we were, a sperm, an egg, or something. Like how did the sperm know where to swim? Like how did the muscle know how to grow? How do you, there is a creative force behind all of life that we have access to. There's no denying that, but we just, it gets crushed. It gets filtered out. We don't trust it. Like if you have a gut feeling about someone or something, if you've ignored that gut feeling, how many times has that gone wrong? Yeah. How many times when you follow a gut reaction and it's true? Do you know what's the funniest thing, right? When everything went tits up, I'd already been coaching for about 4 years, but just not online, etc., and not coaching the kind of clients that I started coaching. You can imagine the look on Jenna's face and my in-laws, actually, her parents. When I said, yeah, I'm going to start a business where I work with people usually older than me, more successful than me, bigger businesses than me, and they're going to pay me to get on the phone to them. It made no logical sense, but there was just something inside that, this gut feeling that said, this is what I have to do. And I just couldn't stop doing it. Yeah, how does a pigeon fly from one country to another without no location given? I know, it's nuts. It's totally nuts. A dog needs sunbathing. Yeah, so we can get confused with what's gut and what's thought. There's different types of thoughts. And again, that's a whole nother conversation. But the point of this, before I keep promising to finish and not finishing, is we've got a personal mind, which is made up of what we think we already know, and intellect, which is limited because it's limited to what we think we know, what we think's happened, our predictions of the future based on what we think we know, our predictions based on what we've been taught or told or conditioned or told by our parents, etc. But beyond that, when my slides move, so sometimes we have invisible thinking as well, like we don't know it's happening, and that's probably that's going on for all of us, by the way. We all have a level of conscious thinking and a level of unconscious thinking, so finding that is part of the game. But let me fly through this because I keep getting lost and talking. So deeper mind, superconscious, intuition, gut feeling, knowing is more of a kind of deeper mind. We get wisdom and insights that come from kind of outside of us. It's like when you're on holiday looking over the sea and you get an idea, or you trying to solve a problem. We call it the shower effect, me and some of my clients, because you're trying to solve a problem, you can't solve it. You get in the shower, you stop thinking about it, and that's when the answer comes. And you're like, oh, that's really obvious. So that deeper mind is something that's limitless, actually, that we all have kind of the ability to connect to. So you've seen me talk about this in my emails. Performance equals capacity minus interference. That's what I meant. That it is performance, happiness, and results equals basically our limitless capacity of deeper mind minus personal bullshit thinking, old belief, thought patterns, and invisible limitations. So as I said, you can start to make sense of this if you haven't already. My clients that do the best, and they're normally just the ones that they go with their gut feeling, they go with what they feel to be true, and they don't overthink it. They don't have a lot of personal thinking getting in the way. Although we all have areas where we trip up. We all have, some of them may be incredible in business, but terrible in their relationship, or incredible in business, but their health is, so we all have blind spots. And what you'll find is the more we take away these thinking, the lighter you become. But anyway, that's another conversation as well. So I love this as an analogy. We have our thinking that we're aware of, and then we have a lot of thinking that we're not aware of. So our beliefs, assumptions, values, etc. So, as best as I can see, this is where a lot of the personal development is pointing to. They talk about limiting beliefs and stuff like that. But, sometimes we have these thoughts that are going on without us knowing. And I used to be someone that wanted to fix things. I couldn't wait to get to the end of this journey. I can't wait until I'm fixed. I can't wait until I found all of the thoughts that are holding me back. But number one, as far as I'm aware, it never ends. And number two, I would never want it to, because once you see the enjoyment in this process, and your life is always changing as well. So the more your life changes, the more other things you've got to kind of work through. But actually there's something incredibly enjoyable about this. You become lighter and lighter and lighter, and that consciousness is always raising. And I don't think it ever ends. And I'd be devastated if it did, to be honest, because it's so much fun. But it does get to a point where it is fun. Your life starts to reflect your inner state, who you are being, who you've become, the way you're acting, thinking. Your circumstances do start to reflect that. And then it just becomes just a creation of what you want, really. So I love this. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you'll call it fate. Because whilst we've spoken, a lot of you are very aware. I like that, because it means we've got more to work with. Some people come and they're completely unaware. They're not even aware of thinking, which sounds bizarre. You guys, not that. You're definitely aware of the thinking, but there is still a level that's usually invisible to us. And that's where other tactics and tools come in. That's the point. Once you've got the understanding, then the tools and tactics become more powerful, because you understand why they're doing that. Meditation is to slow down our thinking, connect to deeper mind, connect to the superconscious, connect to whatever that is. People like extreme sports. People, in my experience, the reason they use drugs and sex and alcohol and food is usually a way of getting out of their mind, getting out of their thinking, slowing down their thinking. One client, he had a habit. I've had people come to me. I deal with all sorts of weird stuff, but, well, not weird, but as long as you want to be better, basically, I'm happy to have the conversation. That's kind of where I'm at. But people have solved their addiction in one conversation with me, because once they've seen why it exists, it's easy to get rid of. So if you've got any addictions, one person, for example, cocaine was his thing, and he hated it, and he was embarrassed by it, and he didn't tell anyone about it. No one knew, not even his wife, but he couldn't stop it because he didn't know why it existed. But what we noticed is that he was always overthinking and anxious and stressed with his business and stuff and blah, 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 blah. And the only time he ever felt calm or chilled or numb, actually, was the day after he had done coke. So until we found a way of slowing down his thinking or giving him that space from his own overthinking, it would never go away. And that's how we solve the problem. So everything, journaling, meditation, extreme sports, or the gym, or unhealthy habits like drinking, food, coke, sex, whatever, they're normally serving a purpose in that sense. They're normally like a compensation pattern. Your brain will find a way of getting what it wants in any way it knows how. But once you know what it's doing, you go, okay, I can choose something different. So I've got a very addictive personality, but once you know that, you can just use it in good ways. I now use it for the gym, or for reading, or for listening to audiobooks, or for etc. So anyway, I've gone off on a tangent again. Yes. Is it possible to change your unconscious negative beliefs? Yeah, totally. Usually, same as thinking, once you see they're there, they kind of dissolve by themselves. Sometimes you can prod and poke them. But once you see them, you'd be surprised at how you go, that makes sense. And then they kind of lose their grip. They lose their control. So, right, I will eventually finish. I apologize for keeping us for a long time. So yeah, we don't know what we don't know. We don't see, hang on, I'm going off on a tangent here, but what I've wrote here is once we know better, we do better. Like, we're all doing the best we can based on our based on the level of consciousness we have. The same as everyone. Everyone's just doing the best they can do based on the level of consciousness they have. You might have people in your world that, you know, act in ways that don't make sense to you, or maybe you've had parents that, you know, weren't great, you know, but everyone is just doing the best they can do based on what they see, based on what they understand, based on the level of consciousness we have. And this is why I love these conversations, because ultimately what we're doing is bringing consciousness and awareness to the situation. So once we see more, we can be more. Once we can become more, we can create more. That's the journey that I enjoy. It's like, once we understand ourselves more, once we understand why we do things, once we understand what drives us, once we see the nature of the human experience, you'll find, like, people say to me, what have you done to me? It's like, I've changed and I don't know why. Or recently someone's like, you know, you haven't told me what to do. You haven't, but yet I'm seeing things differently. And even my wife and kids have noticed. You will notice this, that that innate intelligence does my work for me. My job is to ask questions, to point you in the direction of where to look, to create kind of insights that you will be creating yourself. And you'll notice that things start to change almost, you know, without trying as much. So I've kind of covered this. I'm going to skim through this because clearly I was over ambitious with what I thought I could cover today. But final part is essentially, it's just this kind of this journey here. This is what where this is a cycle where self-awareness, you become aware of something, you become aware of a part of yourself, you become aware of a thought or a process, or your awareness is probably raised today during this conversation. The fact that you've stayed in the conversation this long tells me that's probably true. What you'll find is you then start to, that insight and understanding starts to become, you start to act differently. I used to lose my temper in traffic all the time and then feel guilty afterwards and wonder what's wrong with me. And once I discovered the awareness was the thinking that I was creating around how they've disrespected me, or what other crap I could come up with. Once you become aware of that, it doesn't become, you don't have to do anything with it, because next time it happens, you see the car, you see the thinking, you go, that's funny. And then suddenly you realize, and Jenna would say to me, she'd be looking at me, waiting for the reaction, and I'm just chilled. Because it's like, you'll find that you change without needing to as much, if that makes any sense. I'm not saying there's not work to do, but once you explore the thinking, once you see it, you'll find that it comes into action, and then that's when the habits and structure come in. So it becomes a cycle. You see a new level of thinking that you hadn't been aware of, you kind of bring that into your being, how you talk, how you communicate, that comes into your habits and structure, or implementation and growth here. And it's a continual cycle of self-growth. That's the journey as far as I'm aware, as far as I've seen it. Like, I'm still finding new stuff about myself every day, and it's cool, but it's just a very different journey to me, like 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was. Does that make sense so far? I know I've kind of rushed through this last part. Yeah. So Nathan said, I struggle even with such awareness, which is what I need help with, I would say. So that's true for, I would say that's partly why people are in conversation with me, because I know now that my ego would like to say it's all about me. It's my job is to shine the light in directions. It's like I poke people in where to look. Have you thought about this? Or I used to feel like this, and then I noticed this, and people go, oh yeah, as you were talking there, as I'm talking, you'll be getting insights. As I'm saying things, you'll be going, oh my God, I do that. And that makes sense. That's my role. It's raising the awareness in some ways of, because, well, partly because it's my job, partly because it's my experience, partly because this is just what I love doing, and seem to naturally always be good at it before I even knew it was a job. I can't believe it's something I actually get paid to do, because I've been doing it my whole life. I didn't know it was unusual. And you'll notice that about yourself, but like, about certain areas. But it's being in these conversations that bring the awareness. It's being in these conversations. This is where, you know, that's where journaling or reading or being on calls like this make a difference, because you're continually raising your awareness of the things that are holding you back. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. So, yeah, we're pretty good there. The last part, I didn't actually say at the beginning, I forgot. But there is a way in which you can work with me if you want to, not in a group setting like this. Essentially, that's all that's kind of available, and that's my passion project. Does anyone want to know about what that looks like? You don't have to. Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I'll tell you about that. Let me just check in with chat. Yeah, cool. Perfect. Means you've got to tolerate more of me and my jokes and swearing and humor, I think. But it's good fun. There's a kind of unique flavor, I think, to the work that I do. There's always a lightness to it. There's always fun. For me, it's such an enjoyable thing, especially when you get the results from it. Like, I mean, I could talk to you all day long about so many areas of my life. You know, I'm in good shape. My relationship was absolutely on the floor. Trust me, pal, I can't even keep it PG friendly. Ashley said, yeah, my relationship was in the gutter. I had all sorts of crap going on. You know, she was going to leave me, not surprisingly. All sorts of stuff, you know. I've dabbled with drugs, and yeah, it's not only is this a fun process, but the results are epic as well when you see your life change as a result. So what's missing for most people is the strategies, tools, and application, which for me is kind of time and attention. Questions to provoke that self-awareness and raising consciousness. I forgot I'd even written that, so that's pretty cool. Insight and understanding. This to me is a key one, so that you see on a deeper level. I wrote in here shortcut, because the way that insight works is, it's a bit like if you've been traveling the same way to work for the last 10 years or 2 years or 1 year, whatever. And you're getting on the train and it's busy and it's sweaty and you're in people's armpits because it's really packed. But I then can show you a way that you can get to work without the train, without the business. It takes half the time. How long until you start taking that shortcut every day? It happens straight away. So people think that new patterns, behaviors, etc., new habits take a long time to break. They don't. They can happen instantly. But what people are missing usually is the insight and the understanding. Now, I can't give you that, but I can certainly provoke that in you. You'll have that yourself. And that's what my job is, essentially, is helping you to kind of look in the direction. What people are normally missing is a coach, someone that gets it, understands you, and is able to point you in the direction of where to look. A lot of people come to me after having years of CBT or counseling or therapy and stuff. I think I said this already. And some people, that when they come to me, they've never had a conversation like this in their life. They just don't know what to expect. And but for some reason, they seem to get a lot from me. And I think it's because the way that I talk, the way that I do my videos and stuff, it means I usually gather people that are very similar to me. So when I share stories and it normally resonates. So really, you know, when I say a coach, I don't necessarily mean me. If you really don't get what I'm saying and you don't, you know, you might think I'm a dick or whatever, then I might not be that person. But if what I'm saying seems to resonate on some level and make sense, and I communicate in ways that kind of sit in with your way of thinking, then I might be that person. Habits and structure to keep you in the game and progressing. It's like the gym. So it's a bit like the gym. You go to the gym, you get in shape. If you stop going, you lose it. You forget why you even went. You forget how good it felt. You forget. As humans, we're very good at not doing the things that we know help us. Anyone notice that? We stop doing the shit that we know helps us. So the aim of me and this is to keep you in the conversation, keep this being important to you the same way that it is for me. You stay in the conversation, you'll keep seeing more. You keep seeing more, you keep becoming more. Your life keeps changing. You keep having more of what you want. You learn more about yourself. And so that's kind of the habits and structure. And the accountability and association is So I put social contagion and mirror neurons. You probably know about this, but social contagion is where we mimic other people unconsciously. Mirror neurons are neurons that do that. So it's like if we all moved to New Zealand, we would all have an accent within about 6 months. We don't consciously decide to do that, but it happens as a byproduct. So what you'll find is if you're in the conversation with me and like-minded people, then you'll find that you grow accidentally, because in some ways, because you're watching other people and they're sharing their insights, you're sharing your insights. I'm talking about this stuff which keeps you looking direction. I'm always finding new stuff and sharing that. So that's kind of where that is. And for me personally, I spent so much of my time doing this on my own, feeling alone with no one that really got me. So that's one that's quite important for me anyway. So they want my help. You've all said yes. So that's pretty cool. So essentially what this is, up until recently, it was always just, it was me doing calls like this and that was it. But I've recently been absolutely just flying through the membership site and getting all this on. So it's essentially all of I looked back, and when writing the book, the reason I paused the book is because I realized that I wanted to do this first and then go back to the book. The way I've approached this, excuse me, just barking at you now. The way I've, I promise I don't do that in the membership site, but the way I've approached this is, what is it that, because I've gathered and read a lot of books. I mean, there's a bookshelf behind me, and I've worked with coaches. I've flown to different countries, and some were a total waste of money. Some were relatively useful. Some were really useful. It's all of the stuff that I wish I knew. All of the stuff that if I could go back in time, I would say to myself, the tools, there's nothing in here that I don't use or haven't used with clients or haven't seen a big transformation with. So it's all of my best stuff, to be honest. So you can probably read this, but clarity and insight is understand what's going on inside your head, learn what makes you tick, move this over, and go from confusion, overwhelm, fear, and anxiety to clarity, understanding, insight, and inner peace. So that's all about seeing the invisible thinking, finding the thoughts that are holding you back, finding the bottom of the iceberg in some ways to what's really going on. Module 2, in short, is actually then when we start to reform some of those beliefs, some of those thoughts, remove those limitations, looking at the stress triggers and habits that are slowing you down that you may not have seen or you may be aware of. And they're all the things that are normally stopping you from accessing superconscious mind more. Module 3 is leverage and power. So this is where we start actually looking at, I call them your superpowers. This is a bit kind of tongue in cheek, but the things that you're very good at, and you may not even be aware of those things. There'll be things that you are your superpowers, but they're invisible to you because it doesn't occur to you that other people don't think the way you do or work the way you do. So looking at that, innate wisdom, genius, etc., and how to go from that overthinking, second guessing, and self-doubt to clarity, confidence, creativity, and certainty. Module 4 is more purpose and passion. So it's looking at, because once we get through all of this stuff, you'll start thinking, well, what do I actually want? Like, is my life where I want it to be? Is my job or business or whatever I want it to be? And you start to actually look at, most people are looking for motivation, but motivation is actually designed by the brain as a way of making us do shit we don't want to do. And whilst that's useful a lot, there's something more powerful than that, and that's inspiration. Like, I don't need motivation to be on this call. You can probably see that, but I will need motivation to go and do the hoovering or something. So once you're living a life and you've created a life that ties in with what you want, then you'll find that you have a lot more inspiration, a lot more energy, a lot more passion, more trust as well in what you're actually doing. Like, I've had clients, as I said, that have built businesses that they hate, or they're in jobs they hate, or, one client, again, I love the extreme examples. He come to me, had 10 cars, the house, the business, money, etc. But as I started really digging into this part, he realized that he valued simplicity. He likes a simple life. And I was like, so what the hell is this then? So then from that point, he sold his cars, and he really kind of sold a business and stripped back and made it simpler, and bought a caravan and a mountain bike, and he takes his girls camping and he goes cycling more. And now he feels happy and so much more aligned to what he actually wanted. And it sounds really silly, but a lot of people don't know what they want, but they're busting their ass off to get there. So it's like, hang on a minute. And I've done this. I've started building businesses in the past that were, just really complex. And I like simplicity. I really do. I like freedom. I like simplicity. I like things that I enjoy. So anyway, I've spoke too long on there, but that's the point of that. So if you don't know that, that's cool. If you do, you'll probably just get clearer on that. Module 5 is focus and control. So it's just simple, tried and tested habits to keep you focused, fired up, and in the game. I think I wrote there. I can't see it. So this is even when you face setbacks, downs, or darkness. You'll notice that a lot of this comes from insight and understanding, because the more we have these conversations, the more you realize you don't need to fight this. However, there are still habits and things you can do. It's a bit like if people use the tools without the understanding, they don't get the result. But when you understand why you're using the tool, when you're exploring your thinking because your life is really shit and I need to explore my thinking and I need to do all this stuff because my life's shit, well, you don't get the same result compared to knowing, okay, my life isn't shit. It's my thinking about my life being shit, which is making me feel something. So now I might use this tool to explore that a little bit. And there's more of a lightness to it. So you're doing the same action, but yet you get a different result, if that makes any sense at all. So does that make sense so far? Beautiful. Cool. Okay. So also what you get, which is probably, I don't know, good or bad or better or worse. I don't know. It depends on your way of learning. But we also do a weekly group call on Zoom. So it's like this, but actually I unmute people if you want to be unmuted. Some people just sit in the background and listen. Some people just watch the replay. Some people love to talk on it, and everyone else gets the benefit from what we're talking about. But it just means we're having conversations like this every week, essentially. And then the private Facebook group is the same. So then you've got access to that. You've got access to the other people that are on a similar journey to you. And then plus for the next 10 people, I want to do in person. I do in person already with some of my clients, but I'll be doing this with you guys and the people in this other group, just because it'd be pretty cool. I just felt like, again, looking at what I want, I enjoy doing in-person stuff, and it just speeds up the process for some people because then we get more time together. So if that's something that interests you, epic. There's something pretty awesome about meeting other people that get you, understand you. Like I'm actually a really big introvert. Most people don't, that comes as a surprise to some people, because around my people, I'm extroverted, but around people that aren't my people, just, it's like, I think I've said before, I go to the Turkish barbers because then they don't talk to me because I can't be asked for small talk. I just can't be asked. It's like someone says, oh, you should come to the pub. And I'm like, oh, it sounds shit. Like, unless good people are there. Like, if we all went to the pub, I'd probably love it. And I'd be the loudest person there and having a good laugh, because we'd be talking about interesting things like identity or superconscious mind or, the interesting stuff. But so most of the time, it's like there's a phrase, if you're the most interesting person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I spent a lot of my life being in the wrong rooms, like where people bore me. And I actually prefer to be on my own than be around people that are boring to me. And that's not an insult to them. That's more a reflection of me. There's just certain things. I remember saying to Jenna, like, am I boring? She's like, no, not at all. You're just interested in different things. Like, I just prefer doing other shit, really. So that's what this is. If I'm being completely honest with you, which you'll gather I always am, this is actually, there's a selfish drive behind this as well, because I'm gathering up all of the me's of the world, all of the best people that I can find, because there's a huge power in that. There's something incredibly powerful, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Anyway, so does that make sense so far? Is everyone with me? Does that sound like something that you're interested in, or something that sounds total poo? Still got 17 people here, so I must be saying something of use. Cool. Okay, awesome. So obviously, like, before I go further, I didn't want this to just be a big sales pitch where I just NLP hack you into giving me all your money. I wanted this to be something that you come and get value from. You come along and you actually get a lot from. Has it felt like that? Have you felt like you've got some good shit from this so far? Just give me a nod if you're on camera, because it's quicker. Is there any shaking heads? Yeah, cool. All right, awesome. Perfect. Yeah, it just means I've done what I wanted to do, because I mean, the way people market and stuff really just doesn't tie in with my soul. It just feels inauthentic and unethical. I much prefer to just have an awesome conversation, give value. And if people go, do you know what, James, I want to find a way of being in your company more and being part of what you're doing, great. That's a much better place for us to build from. So cool. So you're probably wondering how much, and this is the cheapest thing I've done so far. If you want to work with me one-to-one, it's $3,000 plus VAT for 12 weeks. Some people might want to do that, but to be honest, it's not something I'm really looking to fill at the moment. My time's already full, and there's only so much I can do with that. So this is basically, I believe you can get the exact same value from this, if not more. And this is the weird thing. I've started to find that people in the group are getting more than the one-to-one. So actually, I probably need to drop the one-to-one altogether and really drive this. But it's 97 quid a month. Now, there are no contracts. You cancel whenever. Even if you come in for a month, get the membership site, get what you want, and then say, I'm good. Yeah, this has given me everything I needed. That's cool. That's awesome. If you come in and think it's total shit, then I just give you money back, because I care more about your experience than about the money. I'd rather have you go away saying that was crap, but it gave me money back. That's never happened, by the way, but just in case, because some people like to kind of know. It's never happened. But yeah, hopefully you won't be the first. But that's the guarantee, I guess. If you come in, you don't like it, you just get your money back, or you come in, get what you want and leave, or you stay for as long as you get value. So some people never leave. Some of my clients never leave because there's never a reason to. They just want to stay in the conversation and keep moving, and the results keep coming. And there are levels to this that some people aren't even aware of. Phil, that was on the call earlier on, actually, he's in the group. He started off with me as one-to-one client. And what he thought he was coming to me for and what he thought he was going to get, not only did he get that, but then it's like your whole world opens up of what else is possible. And it's so if that is you, then you might find you want to stay, basically. So I'll put the link in the comments. So you can go to superhumanmastermind.com. Let me see if I can copy and paste this. If not, I'll just go to, right, that's not working. Oh, it is working. Look at that. Boom. Let me see if I can paste that. Is that working? No, that isn't working. Right, let me just go across to a very busy browser. So when you go through, hopefully you can still see you might not be able to actually. I'll put the other link in just in case that one doesn't work. So there is a button to pay on PayPal. I'm just so you can do that if you want, or you can pay with card. It's whatever you are happy with. Is there anything else I need to add before I open up for questions? I guess what I've covered the last couple of things. So I've already covered this, but stay for as long as you want. Stay for a month, take what you need, and then leave, or stay forever. I'd prefer you stay forever, but it's the reason I do this as monthly. I could sell it as 12 weeks. People in my space sell 12 weeks for 1,000 or 3,000 or 500 or whatever. I want to give you control as to what you need from this. You might take I've had some people come into my world for like a month, and I caught up with someone the last week, and we hadn't spoken since 2017. I don't know how time went so quickly. And he's like, honestly, since we spoke, my whole life changed. And it's epic. He's like, everything I said, I did this and did that, and I created this business, and I got my house in Spain. And more than anything, I just feel happy. And I'm like, that's amazing. But he got what he needed from me and then disappeared. But as I said, other people want to stay longer. So I don't want to make that decision for you. It's like you continue paying for as long as this is worth more than you're paying. And that will be as long as you want it to be. So that's why my pricing is structured this way. So, yeah, the link's in the comments there. Yeah, I mean, I like these questions. These aren't to kind of hack you into buying, do what you want. But the reason I ask these questions is because some people don't kind of connect the dots on this sometimes. I'm sure you guys will actually, but so obviously if you can overcome your biggest internal challenges, how much is that worth to you? Now, for me, I owe everything to this work. You know, how much is it worth to me, like, to live the life that I'm currently living? It's, you know, or to feel the way I feel, or to, you know, it's a lot. I can't really put a price on that. And clients come to me, and as I said, the ones I work with one-to-one are typically on the kind of, you know, the affluent end of the spectrum. The reason I liked them is because they had followed the circumstantial life through to a point where they knew that wasn't where they was going to find happiness, and they were just quite fun to work with. It was also for my own intrigue and curiosity. But they would spend, you know, and we've all done it. You spend money on a round of drinks, or you spend money on a holiday or a car or clothes or a watch or a handbag or whatever in order to try and feel a certain way, only to not feel that way anyway, you know, because we're looking in the wrong place. So it's like, it's just fascinating, actually, where we spend our money trying to obtain a feeling or an emotion. So again, if you want to kind of play the game, what is it costing you to stay where you are? I'm not doing this from a manipulation perspective. You answer the question. I don't. That's your choice. But again, it's awareness, because some people don't. Again, they don't. I want to shake them. Like, they don't connect the dots between, they're like, I'm not sleeping, or I'm feeling stressed, or I'm feeling anxious, or it's stopping me from growing my business, or it's stopping me from starting my dream business, and I'm like, what is it costing you? And they really start to look at, well, yeah, actually, what's it costing me? It's ruining my relationship, or it's ruining my health, or I don't see my kids enough, or it's stopping me from doing what I really want to do, or it's making me unhappy, or the cost is usually more far reaching than money. It's health, happiness, money, relationships, etc. Someone started working with recently, his girlfriend's just left him. It's like, fuck, you know, I wish we'd met quicker, sooner. And I'm not saying we could have changed it, but maybe we could have done. I've had someone come to me who, he was filing for divorce. It was going to cost 6 figures, this guy. They're still married 4 years on, you know, so to him, he probably should have paid me more, to be honest. But you get the point. Like, it's up to you to decide this. And as I said, is it worth taking a chance? I'd say yes, but that's me, because I value this stuff, and it's up to you. You literally do what you want. I'd have no judgment if you go away and say, this was awesome, thanks mate, I'll speak to you never again. Or if you go away and say, I'll speak to you in a month, or it's honestly, it's up to you. I've loved it. I've enjoyed you being here. But is it worth taking a chance on 100 quid? Like, that's like is that like 10 beers or something these days? I don't even go to the pub. I don't know why I use beers, but you know, I mean, if you've got kids, I've got 3 kids. I mean, a trip to the cinema with the 3 kids and the wife cost me bloody 100 quid. So is it worth taking a gamble on that, knowing that if it's total shite, then you get a refund? I mean, I'm going to say yes, but you know, it's up to you. Let me just check the comments here. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Nathan signed up. Awesome, mate. I'm buzzing, actually. Looking forward to, after this, I'll send over the stuff I need to make sure you're all kind of in, and I'll probably ask you a few questions, just because I like to know kind of why you're here, what do you want, and make sure I can kind of fulfill on that. So awesome stuff. Any more? I don't think there's any more slides here. Yeah, there we go. Links in the comments. 97 a month, no contracts, cancel whenever. And also, Nathan, that means, yeah, we'll be doing once the lockdown is off, we'll then do the in-person meet. I haven't decided on the location yet. Sometimes I do it here. That's what I did last time. But it depends on the situation. We might go somewhere cool and do something, or somewhere scenic. I like nature. So does anyone, before we kind of wrap this up, does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any reservations? Anyone have any kind of fears? Is someone thinking, I want to do this, but I'm worried about X, Y, and Z? Or any questions around this first before I open up questions on a broader scheme? Does anyone have any questions around the mastermind that I haven't answered? Just chuck them in the chat. Perfect. Awesome. So I'll sign up on Monday. Beautiful. Just out of curiosity, why Monday? Is that a financial thing, or is it, do you like to I'm not saying it's the wrong thing. I'm just curious. Do you kind of sit on these? Do you kind of sit on the decisions and slow them down? Or is it more of a logistic thing? Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. Just curious. I just like to see people's decision making sometimes. Like, depends on what their decision is, but nosy. That's what I get paid to do. I honestly think that's all I've ever been. I seem to say things that other people don't say, or I ask questions that other people don't ask. Like I used to be a PT. Sorry, I was just reading the comments there. And I was coaching people before I even knew that it was a thing. So, and I remember she was a lawyer in London, I think, or a solicitor. I never know the difference, but she saw Jenna in the pub and she's like, there's something about James that you just find yourself telling him stuff you don't tell anyone. And it's, I always had that. And I think it's just because I'm nosy. Like I remember when, when I was a PT a few years ago now, and one of the PTs that worked for me was like, did you just ask her about her sex life? I was like, yeah. Like, why'd you ask her that? I was like, well, because it all ties in, doesn't it? You know, like what's her relationship like with her husband? And it's all kind of holistic. It didn't occur to me that was something that wasn't supposed to ask. It just felt like something I'd ask. So Louise, awesome. Yeah. So if 97 will sort that, then I'm going to sign myself up. Cool. So just save the link somewhere. Do I include gym training then? No. I mean, I could, but I do love the gym. So Joe, I will sign up on Friday. I'll give you a message on Insta. Yeah, perfect. So Sam, I'm interested, but I'm currently unemployed. So bad cash flow at the moment. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Again, sometimes life circumstances are a bit like that. And I get that. You know, I've been up and down in the financial journey. I'm quite happy to say that I am now completely debt free. I was 50K in debt, by the way. That was not much fun. Completely debt free, positive cash flow. And whilst I'm not a millionaire, I live a pretty good life, to be honest. And this is the life that, while sometimes I'd love to have my clients' lives, or some of my clients' lives, the kind of, as I said, I just wouldn't want their life, if I'm honest. It's just can't be asked. So it's like, for me, it was like, but once you know that about yourself, it's like, how do I, once you know the life you want, sometimes it actually doesn't cost as much as you think it does. Or I still, I like money. I like making money because that's how you pay for publishing your book. That's how you pay for the videos that you've seen me on. That's how you pay for microphones and bloody ring lights and shit. It's like a proper setup going on here and an office. And, money makes the world go round, and it means I can do more of what I want to do. But it's like once you know what you want your life to look like, you're then free to kind of create. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. But anyway, I think I'm pretty much done here. Anyway, I will catch up with people anyway. I've got your names and email addresses. Yeah, and then anyone that signed up, I'll catch up with you pretty quickly. But there was a question here. So for years, I believe that anything bad has happened after the point of me having kids is karma for the way I used to be before I had them. It's a mindset I cannot shake and holds me back, even though I'm a different person now. Yeah, it's just consistent thinking. If you think the same thought over and over and over again, then you will continue feeling that emotion. You're holding on to it for some reason. And you can start to look at why. And this is a conversation for probably inside the group, but the things that you're holding on to that you can't seem to shift, on some level they'll serve you. Once you discover why they serve you, you can then start to release them, if that makes any sense. It's like the guy I used earlier on, an easy example. Once we found out why the constant need for Coke was reoccurring, it then didn't reoccur anymore. It became obvious. It's like we hold on to negative thinking, or what's perceived as negative thinking, and it can often be a self-protection. Like if I'm anxious, that protects me from judgment because it stops me doing stuff. Well, once you kind of really look into what is it protecting you from, what is the payoff of this negative thinking, you can start to release it, if that makes sense. I know we're going to kind of dived into that a little bit, but everything negative going on for you on some level, if you become aware of it and it doesn't go, it just means you then need to look in the other direction. Why is this serving you then? Let me think of an example for me. I can't think of an example, but you know, as an example, it's like, yeah, what does overthinking protect me from? If I was an overthinker, well, it would protect me from failure. It would protect me from making the wrong decisions, spending money, going backwards to where I came from. So once you see that, you go, interesting. Okay, cool. Like, and it starts to lose its power. So sometimes there's a thought behind the thought, if that makes sense. But anyway, totally recommend you watch The Midnight Gospel on Netflix. Okay, cool. Sounds interesting. I'll have a look at that. Makes a change from watching Ozark or something. Is there any more questions before we wrap this up? I've talked for 2.5 hours. Look at that. Is any more questions? Otherwise, we will wrap this up. Totally got carried away today. But has everyone found this useful? People that left, we still got 12 of you watching me. Has everyone found this useful? Has this been a good use of your time? Awesome. Louise, love that. That's awesome. Good. I'm glad. Glad it's been useful. Obviously, that's my intention. It'd be pointless if it wasn't any good. Brilliant. But no, it has been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it, as you can probably tell. I love this. If you are joining, then epic, because, you know, I'll let you see what happens. If you're not, totally cool. Hopefully we'll catch up. Or there might be a time in the future where you watch my stuff a bit more and you go, yeah, now's the time. That's cool. But obviously I didn't encourage, if I had my own way, everyone would be signing up, because I'd sign the whole world up, because, you know, this stuff does. So it's like, that's the frustration in a business like this, because you want to go, come on, everyone, you know, like when you see what I see and experience what I experience and work with people I work with and do the groups and stuff like this, it's like you want the world to know about it. So I'd have everyone sign up, but, you know, I also appreciate that, yeah, life circumstances sometimes. Anyway, I think that's it, really. I think we're good. If final thing, you know, if you want to tag me in any form of social media or whatever, that'd be epic, because again, the more people that know about this and know that it's actually useful, it's good. I'm pretty new on Insta. I've not really done a lot on that. So if you're there, that's pretty cool. I'm a newbie. But anyway, I'm going to go, because otherwise I'm going to keep talking. Okay, hang on. There's one last thing here. Sophie, yeah, so you said here, apprehensive to sign up. If anyone wants to go now, that's fine. I'm just going to stick around for a bit if there is any last questions, but apprehensive to sign up. But I think that's because I've tried so many things in the past and I've failed and wasted so much money. Yeah, I get that. Or started things. Totally get that. Again, it's kind of up to you whether you take a chance on that, because you, as I said, you could give it a go, and if you don't, I'll just give you your money back. So you're not any worse off. But yeah, I get that, because that was my experience as well. So, but that's why I say it. You know, if it isn't good, then just get a refund. It's like, to me, it's unfortunate in the sense it's not a load of money. So it's like, whatever. I would pay you to go away and be happy with the fact that it didn't cost you anything. I'd rather that. So yeah, I'm not going to convince you, but it's up to you if you want to take a chance or not. That's totally up to you. You know, it's like, is it worth the risk or not? Same, but striving can only be positive. Keep going. Awesome. Hydration is another big one, by the way. If you're dehydrated, that you're not doing yourself any favors. It probably goes without saying, but yet we're all guilty of it. Cool. Any questions? Sophie said, yeah, true. Does that mean, yeah, true, you're going to go for it? Or, yeah, true, yeah, not? Awesome. Yeah, as I said, like you can probably see with me, from what I'm told, this is other people's perceptions of me. So again, that doesn't make it right or wrong. It means that's their thoughts around me. Apparently, what you get is authenticity, truthfulness. I say what I mean what I say. There's no bullshit. So I guess the reason I'm saying that is if it's crap, tell me. I won't be offended. I'll be intrigued. I'd be curious to know kind of, what's kind of led you to that, just out of curiosity. But yeah, in terms of do people drop out of meds? Yes, I had someone who was bipolar, diagnosed bipolar. He was on medication for 30 years. He come off them with me. So it can happen. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not necessarily encouraging it or not encouraging it because I'm not really qualified. There's too many unknowns for me to say do that. But yeah, do people come off beta blockers? Totally. Do people come off antidepressants? Absolutely. Because antidepressants they just suppress your emotions. You just feel numb. You don't feel sadness, but you just don't feel fucking anything. And that's a horrible place to be. I've been there. Not on antidepressants, but in terms of my mindset, I've definitely been there. I felt numb to the world. So, that's for people to decide. If they're on medication, they want to come off it. That's their decision. You'll notice with me, I don't often give my opinion. My job is to help you find out what's best for you. What is the right decision for you, and then support you in that. So if, for example, you are on medication, you want to come off it, and that's what you desperately want to do, I would totally support that. And, helping that discovery, that kind of discovery of self, because there will be a kind of an adjustment period. Most people find that it is different. Like, for example, the guy coming off the bipolar meds, it was fucking total carnage for a period of time because it was like all the emotions that had been suppressed, had to deal with, and we had to kind of find our way through them. But once we got there, he felt he could actually be happy again for the first time in his life because he wasn't just numb all the time. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I can't really recommend yes or no because I'm that's a little bit hot water, I think, if I step into that. So any more questions? It's not about recommending more, like as in recommending more medication. I don't understand the question. It's not about recommending. Okay, yeah, I get the question. Yeah. If it happens frequently. Yes, I've seen it happen quite a bit. Yeah. The girl that come off beta blockers is my wife, by the way. So, yeah. I think the reason most people go on medication anyway is because they don't know a better way. It's, as I said, if we know better, we do better. If we don't know a better solution, you go to the doctors. They're just trained to give you some form of tablet. They don't even ask you, as far as I'm aware. Like, to me, anxiety, depression, etc., they're thoughts that create feelings. We all experience those emotions on some level. It's just how big have they become from person to person, and how much are they preventing you from doing the things you want to do. Like, I never knew that I had anxiety or felt anxiety, because I used to say to Jenna when she was like back in like years ago now, before I kind of knew what I knew now, I'd say, what is anxiety? What are you worried about? It didn't make sense to me. And she's like, I'm just anxious. Yeah, but what about? Oh, I don't know. Just in general, I just feel anxious. I don't know. And I didn't get that. And it wasn't until kind of as time would go on, I'm like, oh, I feel really kind of uneasy and restless and like this kind of sickness in my stomach. And like, I'm scared. I'm a little bit worried about X, Y, and Z. She's like, yeah, that's anxiety. And I'm like, is it? Or is it just that it's a sickness feeling and I feel anxious? Or I feel, to me, it's like I was very good at putting a big paragraph to an emotion rather than kind of categorize it into depression, anxiety, this or that. It was like I felt a range of emotions that I hadn't necessarily categorized. But what I've come to see is that we all experience on some level. We all experience varying levels of the different emotions. We all have emotions. All humans experience. Essentially, there are like 7 primary emotions. We all have them in varying quantities. It's just, as far as I'm aware, that's being human. It's just how much are we fighting them, making them mean something, struggling with them, finding them to be debilitating. So to finally get to your question, the reason it happens is because once people start to see their thinking, their emotions, they no longer need it. It just becomes a natural byproduct. So yeah, cool. Thanks, Nathan. It's been awesome. Except for there's only half of it there. It's been an inspiration to hear your journey, and if there's something. Is there more to that? But yeah, I'm probably going to wait to see if there's more to that sentence. If not, I think it's probably time we part ways. Yes, they're normally at 12:30 every Friday, but they might, depends really. Again, if I need to, then I'll kind of vary them, but quite a lot of people just like the consistency of it, and then some people just they like the consistency of it, or they watch the replays. Some people don't even get on the calls; they just like to watch the replays back. It just depends on your learning style, really. If you like to be involved live, ironically, actually, I like delivering live, but I'm someone that prefers watching the replay usually. Probably because I can then do it at my own time, because I can watch 10 minutes in the morning, and then I might listen to 10 minutes as I'm driving, or yeah, cool. Cool. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. It's been a lot longer than I anticipated, but it's been good fun. So yeah, as I said, I appreciate you all being here. It's been good fun. The engagement's been epic as well. It's made it a lot of fun for me, and the level of sharing as well, which means I can direct it and know I'm in the right area of the conversation. So yeah, it's been really awesome. And I will speak to you all very soon. Bye-bye. When this eventually ends.